Hello, everyone. Welcome to Abnormal Investigations. I finally got everything figured out. Lost audio connection to my laptop. I have no idea why it done that. It said, you have lost audio connection, and no matter what I plugged into it, I couldn't get it to work, so I had to reboot the whole system. Everything was up and running, and then it just crashed. I guess Jesse needs to buy me a new computer. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'll bring Jesse and Randy on, and we will get ready for our guests, guys, momentarily.
Hello, hello.
There we go.
Hey.
Radio check. Can everybody hear me?
Loud and clear.
Sounds you good. Hear you good, man.
Nice to have good working here.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. It said I lost audio connection. I had no audio. All of a sudden, it just little bar thing came up on the side over there, and it said, you have lost audio, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't matter what I did. I had no audio. But
Time for an upgrade.
Yeah, we're good now, though. Well, that's the funny thing, is it said that I don't have any more upgrades. And then when I was doing it, it said your computer has 2 upgrades waiting to be done. So I had to do a whatever it is, remind me later. So I don't know if it was trying to upgrade, and that's why I crashed, because it started upgrading whenever, because I had it running, and then it crashed, and then it came up with the upgrade thing. I don't know. It's smarter than I am. That has to be smart if it's smarter than I am. That right, Randy? Right, Randy?
Correct. You got to be smarter than the using. You're supposed to be smarter than the equipment, Mike.
And that's why Randy is a co-host right there. See how he just jumped right in there and agreed with me?
I don't want to be fired, or feeding to the critters, I'm just kidding, okay? Just in case somebody the wrong way.
Yeah. Careful.
All right, guys. Tonight we've got Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot is going to be joining us. They're going to share some of their encounters, some of their ideas, and some of the things they've went through. Should be a really, really good night. On the roll call tonight, guys, we got Dawn Moore. Good to see you. Amanda, it is good to see you. Emmy Tongue, good to see you. Donna Eckerson's in here. Good to see you. And don't forget, tomorrow night, guys, we're going to be live on AI Seeking the Truth, one you're not going to want to miss. But remember, if you're not subscribed, you will not be able to interact. You will have to be subscribed to interact. Hello, Edith Gomez, Silver Bullet, Jason B., Tim Wrestler. The Junkyard Man is here. That's what. I can't remember who called him that in the last chat. I seen somebody in there call him Tim the Junkyard Dog or Tim the Junkyard Dog Man or something. So there must be something behind that. Probably don't want to know. Hello, Starfire. Good to see you. Margie Burt. Good to see you. OCST Harold's in the house. Always good to see Harold. Harold's a good man. Good friend. Mindy Weeks. Good to see you. Lori C. Good to see you. Oh, man, I see a lot of the old faces along with a lot of new faces. That's always a good thing. CRJ's here. Christy made it. She's probably got her a bag of popcorn ready for this. The Squatching Cowboy, good to see you. Glad you was able to make it. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring in Tennessee, Kentucky, and we will kick this one off. They have been around, I believe, since the beginning of my show. I think they was like one of my first supporters. I remember seeing them forever. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. Hey. We're doing good. We're like you, man. We got ready to go, and the laptop ain't charging. Oh, crap. Throw that cord down. Plug this up. I mean,
change cameras.
That song, Country Boys Will Survive, come to my head. Because I'm like, man, that's all technology stuff is rough. And, I'm amazed. The work you guys put in to try to do this work and get everything plugged up and get the camera to work. Well, you guys stress me out just trying to do this. It is. For me, it's stressful because I'm trying to get the microphone to work. I'm trying to get everything. This ain't working. What happened to that? But anyway.
And it's weird because it can all be running just fine. And then all of a sudden one thing goes down and it's like everything just follows right in order. It's like everything starts dropping.
Right.
I'm like, oh my.
We're excited to be here, Mike. I remember you back when you used to sit at the kitchen table.
Yep.
I kind of like, you're my Rockford Files. You spend abnormal investigation investigates everything. So that's you got a great.
Still got the notebook.
You got the note.
Yeah. I would sit there, and he just went over
Read the stories and every detail about them.
Yeah, so that's
fun.
yeah, it's great because you cover everything. So we're excited to have a chance to say hi and I like to yell at Amanda and Sharon, Jason. I'm just putting some names down here. Some people I know, Oklahoma, CRJ, Squatch Mom, Grandma, Squatch Cowboy. So I keep seeing more people popping in. So appreciate everybody showing up too.
Oh yeah, there's so many good people in this community. The support I've had has been just outrageous by everybody. I'm really, really blessed to have the people that we have here. We really are.
Yeah, we're moving good here in Tennessee. We had a little rain, so we're finally getting we got a little break from the heat, but now it's just humid. But we're excited. Our gardens have been needing it. We're kind of like I would say homemade Amish. A lot of people. I mean, that's the only way to describe our family. We kind of live in the woods and we take care of ourselves. Been out here about 30 years in Knoxville, Tennessee, and so we're kind of unplugged. So. We rolled the generator out and plugged up the microphone so we could talk to you. No, actually, we do have electricity, but
not that far off the other side of the ridge.
But we're not kind of out in the woods. So technology is one of those things you got to figure it out.
Hook the dogs up to the generator, get them to run.
That's right. Dang rabbits got to be running.
Right.
I tell you what, man, I think the more and more right now that you can be self-reliant, self-sufficient, and off-grid, the better off you are.
Nowadays.
Like I said, we've been 30 years. It's a natural thing for people to start growing. I guess you start growing a garden, and then you're like, man, I like having free food. And eventually, over 30 years, you find yourself doing everything for yourself. Because you just, enjoy, Mother Guy pays back 7 times compared to, Walmart. So we appreciate having our own fresh tomatoes. And this time of the year is when we get, we're having to freeze tomatoes and cucumbers, and we're packing it in, and our chickens are happy, and we have enough for the deer and for the rabbits and everything. So, it's the whole circle comes around. It's, that's a lifestyle,
And isn't it weird? It's weird to me that some of the laws they're coming out with now, telling some people, even in some states, you cannot have a garden. And then I guess in some other states, your garden can't be visible. And I'm like, what in the world is going on, man?
Right. Ain't it something?
Getting wild out there in them buildings of concrete.
Oh, it's like, dude, I mean, where is it that they cross over, to our God-given right to be able to survive, right? I'm going
to interrupt. We got bees, and our neighbors' bees didn't make it. And luckily there's few of us holding out, and our bees are happy. But like you said, it is everything's been super strange.
Yeah, the guy that his bees died with the flu of some type, he bought it at the store of some type. I bought my bees from Facebook Marketplace, someone that had too many bees and just needed to get rid of some. And I just wonder if there was like some type of thing about the store-bought bees.
And all of our chickens, the chicken, you remember the chicken crisis, couldn't get eggs, then you can't get chickens. It was just one insane year for that. Luckily, all of our chickens are, all natural from the egg, from the rooster. They're not immunized. They're not, they haven't, so over time, we have a good flock of birds that give us eggs, and, but it's weird world we live in.
That's what my uncle did the other day. He pulled in the driveway honking his horn, and Mom's like, "Is that my brother?" I said, "Yeah." And she ran out there and she goes, "Look what he gave us." And he gave us like 8 dozen eggs, He's got chickens everywhere. He's like, why would you, go buy it when you can grow it? And, I eat my roosters. That's what I used to do. I would eat my roosters. I had my rooster that I would use for my breeding. And then The other roosters, I would know that, hey, in about 6-8 months, you guys are going to the pot or to the freezer,
Right.
There
Well,
you go.
Matthew's got it's kind of like a boxing match for chickens when roosters. If he gets 2 roosters and they start fighting, he puts them in this metal cage and he gets the water hose. Says, "All right, boys, you want to fight? Let's get it." And he has and he breaks them from fighting. Because if they get into a fight, he says, "You boys want to fight?" And so he puts the roosters in there. Probably shouldn't say that's on YouTube. Maybe someone's going to call.
Well, it's actually kind of safe because it's actually giving them a bath. If you look at them afterwards,
Right.
they look really clean.
But he's broke. We got roosters that get along. And I know that's weird, but our roosters are like, "Man, I don't want to fight you today. I don't feel like getting a shower."
They look
Hey, if it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the weird things I learned growing up was grandpa, my grandpa, my granny and grandpa, they actually lived off their land. I mean, they had 8 kids. My grandpa was a logger. He was gone most of the time. He owned a logging business and he owned the first sawmill around. So he was always gone. But I mean, they raised hogs and they had their cows for their meat, their milk. They had the pigs, for the food and the bacon, and they would make the pork rinds in the oven and the garden. And I mean, they done everything. The cannon, they would go to town for just the necessities, the flour, the sugar, whatever they would need. But most of the time they were growing it or raising it. And I remember one time Granny was dumping scraps and she had accidentally, when she dumped the scraps, she poured gravy on one of the roosters. Well, the other roosters didn't recognize him because she had poured the gravy on him, and they all went after him. They were trying to kill him, and I remember Grandpa trying to catch the rooster to save the rooster. But I guess it freaked them out because they didn't know who he was with that gravy on his head. It's like, we don't know this dude.
We don't know, but he's got gravy. He's tasty.
It might be tasty. It might as well get gone too.
Gravy's always good with chicken.
Yeah, right.
So hey, I checked out some of your videos you sent me.
Okay, cool.
Man, y'all's had some pretty cool things going. So tell everybody about your the Bigfoot picture. I thought that was really interesting.
The Bigfoot picture. Which one was that? Because I'm like you.
The one that
we've
smells
had a lot of experiences, but you're the perfect person to talk to. Have normal investigations because a lot of it ain't even Bigfoot. It's just weird things that happen in our life. The picture where we folded it. Oh, okay, that one where he put it up on sticks.
that one, and he did a Mad Magazine fold type of deal.
Yeah.
So we had, we drew pictures when we first, we didn't, this wasn't on YouTube for big people weren't into Bigfoots 4 or 5 years ago like they are now. I think now everyone's, have got the bug. There's so much things going on. There's a lot more than Bigfoot, but we had drew pictures. We drew a picture of like a Bigfoot or hairy dude, and it had a sun up in the corner. And we put it down on a rock, and it had little stick decorations over the top of it. And the next morning we go, and they had taken it out and folded the sun out. Like, no, we don't do sunshine, and put it back underneath that stick decoration. So what was that? Like I said, I can't say it was Bigfoot. We can't say if it was elves or, forest people. But that's one of those things. Like you say, you go, what was that about?
They folded it twice, and on both, like they folded it outwards to fold out the sun backwards, and then fold it forward to completely cover up the sun, or something like that. If I remember
Right.
And then the Mad Magazine. I mean, I did that one, and I put a bunch of sticks on top of it. It actually had to move my sticks to take the paper out and give it two sorry, I'm walking away from the mic, but 2 crease folds on the paper, and then he had to put it back and put all the sticks I had back on top of it. I couldn't understand why he put all the sticks back on top of it, as an A form or something like that. But
yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that was
just like,
we went up to Kentucky a few days ago, and Matthew went. We had a whole, for some reason, I don't know why, but we all had to go take a restroom break when we got there. And I'd come back to the truck and was working on the passenger side. I was putting stuff in my bag, and on the other side of the truck, I heard knock, knock, knock on the corner panel or on the door. I'm not sure. It was daytime. I walked around. I thought Matt was messing around, and I walked around the truck, and I knew, I was like, dude, someone's messing with us. And we're like you now. I understand there's more than Bigfoot. There's other things, but something had knocked on the driver's side. Knock, 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 and then ran off. I think to me, I call them boogers, but that's just, I ain't got no idea. Honestly, I've never seen it. I couldn't tell you what it was, but that just happened Wednesday. And, but anyway, yeah, we just, I don't know. We're like you, we go out and see things and we don't even understand what's happening or how these things are, what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I like that y'all say that you called it boogers, because that was something my granny and my uncles used a lot too. You know, they'd always tell us, you know, you better be in here before dark. You know, them old boogers are going to be coming up here. And
yeah, and down south you got a lot of streets named Booger, and I can't, you know, like I said, it's all speculation, but we go down near Chattanooga, Tennessee, down in that area, and those seem like boogers to me down south of Tennessee, because at night they come around and they monkey around your camper, and they're curious, and they get into more. They do things different. When I go up to Kentucky, those Bigfoots are different. They act different. You'll hear one ridge go dur, 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 and the other one dur, 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 dur. You can tell. I mean, there are definitely many different. Mm-hmm. If these are Bigfoots, there's definitely many species of them. And like I said, I hear the stories. I know a lot of people don't like the boogers because some of them boogers can be pretty boogerly. For sure. You know, boogers. They can be
pulling hairs sometimes.
Well, they can get very mean, just like anybody.
Janice even said you have to stand your ground against them. Janice Carter, she even said you have to stand your ground against them. Like if they come with you physically or anything like that, you do got to like put up your, like, show them that you will be physical if you have to. Right. You know, it's like she said it to me like it's like a mama bear. Just look at them on stand your ground type of deal when you see them. That's what I got from Janice. But yeah.
But yeah, we like to go down that. There's a friend of ours. You know, we used to go. That's how we got into it, was go painting. But down in Coca Creek, Tennessee, down south, you know, we sleep in metal campers. We don't sleep outside in a paper tent. I just ain't got. I mean, the last time we were down there, Matt put his earplugs in. He fell asleep.
Oh,
they were throwing rocks and stuff on my side of the camper, hitting my wall. And I was bent over in the floorboard to get something. And Matt's like, "Is that you?" And I was like, "No, man, I'm picking something on the floor. It's not me. They're hitting this side of the." So he fell asleep. And then we have LED lights hooked up with a switch inside the camper, because it's if I can't stand it too much, I'll flip on the light, because I'm just the way I am. I'm like, I won't go without bright lights, because
right,
they can get really rambunctious. And I was super. Then I had my hand over at 20 minutes, I guess, and I was just waiting for them to calm down, because if you guys don't calm down, I will flip on this light. But they're right outside and they're walking around, you know, and doing stuff. And that's the boogers. But like I said, we go to Kentucky, totally different experience with what they do up there. That was where they folded the picture. That's where they do more stuff like that. So interesting, you know.
Even at my granny's house, you know, we would, of course, the lights was our main, you know, defense. Is pretty much what we used it. One of the weird things we had, though, I don't know if it ever happened to you guys, but she would actually get sometimes when, like, nighttime would come, we had lights on, my uncles put lights up on the corners of the house, the back of the house, you know. They would be not taken out, but untwisted to where they wouldn't work. And sometimes we'd have to go twist them back in.
Right. And the thing is, it would be something like it was covered in glass and they still did it. You're like, what?
Right.
You know, that's the things that you're like us. You probably don't tell the complete story, because most people say that's impossible. And I'm like, I know it's impossible.
They would think I was crazy. I mean, yeah. I used to, you know, I tell everybody, you know, I've told people, and, you know, I remember sitting down there with my cousin, because when my grandpa passed away, Granny was lonely. My mom and dad worked. So she took care of us. She would watch us during the day. And of course, you know, we would get to play in together, and we built forts out in, you know, the hog pasture they had a bunch of sandstone. So we built forts out there, and, you know, and then we'd say, well, we're just going to stay all night with Granny. We don't have to get up early in the morning and come down here for her to watch us. We'll just be here and we can sleep in and play. But then nighttime would come and Granny would sit on the couch. She had an old 32 pistol and a butcher's knife, and she kept it on the couch by her. And we would, lay on the floor, talk to Granny, and she'd get her big cup of coffee, and it would start beating on the house, and we would hear the growling and the breathing and the scratching, and she'd say, "We're okay, you're okay," because we get scared. I mean, there was times I cried that I didn't want to be down there. I would cry. Right. And she would always say, "It don't want to come in here. If it did, I'll take care of it," And we believed her. We were young. We was like, Granny will take care of it, And, but yeah, it would rattle the doorknob, especially on the back door. The front door, it would kind of like knock on it, and it would kind of scratch on it, or you would hear like, how a dog will lay against the door? You could hear it like lay against the door. But the back door, it would always rattle it and shake it. It would like it was testing the door to make sure it was locked.
Right. Yeah, that's that's pretty. We don't have here on our property any problems. Never had. I don't know why. We're lucky, I guess. We just have not had any problems with anything. Just been lucky, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, not on our property. Until we started doing our camping up in Kentucky and down in Chattanooga and such, when we were camping around, that's when we started noticing them. And then I guess after we noticing them for a while, they start finding us here. And then
they have
eventually, just the past, I guess, about 5 years.
They do leave us. We do know they're here because they leave us all kinds of signs. We were down in Chattanooga. We came back, and on the way back on our driveway, they put a big arch and put the leaves right in the center of the drive, a beautiful arch saying, "Welcome home." And I'm like, whoa, when you come home and you got a big arch, and I got a picture of it. I should show it.
It's perfect.
Perfectly arch,
and it was on the drive.
And then we were up shooting. We were shooting up on that mountain up here, and we were shooting. And the couple of days we were walking by there, Matt, he went over and there was a bullet hole in the tree. And you pulled the lead out?
Yeah.
Okay, so he took his little knife and he pulled the lead out.
What did I pull out? The first time I pulled out a screw. No, I did not.
Okay, so the lead wasn't there. Okay,
there was no lead.
There was a Phillips screw inserted into that hole, and he took his knife and he unscrewed it out. Right, and it was about an inch long Phillips screw that was in a hole where we had been shooting. And so we took it out. It was like, okay, because it took a lot of pressure for him. He didn't have Phillips screwdriver. He was using
no rust on the screw.
Yeah.
It's silver.
And so he used his screwdriver or his knife, and he took a lot of pressure to pull it out. And so a little while later, we went back up and he found a little teeny acorn in that little hole, kind of like really unique looking one. But the thing was, there was also one in front of his chair in the garage. And I'm like, okay. So, we do get signs. We have breaks. We've got, they do show us signs and stuff that they are around here. So, but like I said, I don't think we have the boogers. And I know a lot of people have had, I hear all kinds of stories across the country because, there's so many people talking about, and I hear a lot of people having problems, and I hear a lot of people, that do well with them. But like I said, I do definitely believe it just depends on the species of, I guess.
It could be just a certain type of species that are the bad ones, for all we might know, and in comparison to all the other ones, they all might be good too, right? Or the reverse, however. Just don't know.
Growing up, again, Granny, whenever those things would come up to the house, she would tell us, and this is what she would tell us. My great grandpa, he was full blood Cherokee, and he had spoke a lot about, he called him Sasquatch mostly, or the hairy man, and then he talked about the little people. But he would tell us, and Granny believed it too. She'd say, now whatever's coming up to the house, the Bigfoot mainly, she would say, he's really not going to bother you. She'd say, if you leave him alone, he'll pretty much leave you alone. She said, he might throw rocks at you, he might hoop at you, but he's probably not going to hurt you. Probably not. But then she'd say, but now those other things that come up here, they'll hurt you. Because my mom, they seen a variety of things at the house. For instance, they saw the Bigfoot. And then my mom seen what she said the only way she knew how to describe it was a werewolf. And the werewolf thing, it scared a lot of people down at my granny's house. You know, I told the story about the guy that, you know, said, hey, I'll go take care of it at the back of the house. And he walked in the front door. They said, you know, why does a sheet and just fell on the couch? And he wouldn't talk about it for 50 years. This guy would not talk about it. And I, you know, I wasn't even thought of then. And I finally got a hold of him, and he still didn't want to talk about it to me. He was like, you know, his daughter's like, he don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And he ended up getting sick and wrote me a letter, and he explained, you know, what had happened. And he's like, when I walked around the back of that house, it was standing there. My granny had an old hog trough that Grandpa had put at the back door because he didn't want her going outside at night when he was gone logging. He told her, you just dump the scraps out the back door in that old hog trough. Don't you go outside at night, you know. So she would just dump the scraps. And he said it was reaching down, grabbing the scraps, and instead of eating it like with the front of its mouth, it was cramming it in the side of its mouth, the scraps, and it was like running all down him. He like had food all down. He's just like, you know, but when he stepped around, he said it kind of bent its head, and he said it smiled. So I don't know if the smile is a growl or what, but he said it kind of smiled, and it said, hello. Wow. And he said, I knew at that moment, he said, if it wanted to kill me, it would have no problem doing it. He said this thing was massive. It was dark as night. The fur, he said, was dark. It was like almost, you know, midnight black.
Yeah, midnight.
And he said those big white eyes. He said they have white eyes. And his teeth, you know, it wasn't the yellow teeth. It was the big white teeth. And he said it in the way it spoke, it was hello, like it kind of drug out the vowels. Whoa. And he turned and he hauled ass. He said, man, he said, I ran for my life. And it changed his life to the point to where growing up as a child, you know, he was 18, I call him a child. Growing up, he stopped going to the woods. He stopped fishing. He moved to the city, and he lived in the city for the rest of his life because he said, I did not want to ever encounter something like that again because that was not supposed to exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be in the same boat too.
I mean, we're Cherokee, and my grandfather used to put food out by the fence. And, you know, Mike, as you were talking about it, there was no such thing as Bigfoots 10 years ago down south. They were hairy people, and people would put food out, you know, and so, Bigfoot's a new thing. And anyway, they would put food out there. And in Kentucky, I know I've heard cases where, you know, you could call law enforcement, but they would come out and stand around the woods and smoke a cigarette. So I ain't going after them. And you had to get certain people that would go back and push back on that group that is harassing you. And, you know, so, you know, dealing with, you know, we call it Bigfoot now, but dealing with hairy people. And I, you know, just to draw this picture, you know, if you can imagine walking up on a 20-foot hairy naked dude in the woods. I think everybody would lose their capacities to think.
Oh yeah. You know,
I couldn't imagine. I've never seen one. Matt had seen one come down a tree in the moonlight. You know,
a full silhouette of the full moon, and he was waving in front of the moon. The tree was completely encapsulated on both sides of the full moon. Like, this is the moon. Tree went that way and that way, and it's a big tree. And he just kept on moving it about 7, maybe 10 times. But I stopped counting, looked away, pinched myself, looked back at it. Like, he started climbing down the tree. Oh my goodness, this is behind our this is behind our house. You know, there are chickens back here. I lock the chickens up every night, so that's why I was out there. And there he was, waving back and forth about 7 times, looking away, looking back at it, because I also heard sometimes people look away from these things and they'll disappear. I was like, well, I hope so in this matter. Looked away. I was like, please? No, he was coming down.
Was there.
And I saw the silhouette of his hair sticking down by like so far. Let me get in the camera.
Under his arm.
Like that far off his arm. But I could see that was very black line of his arms and the silhouette of hair coming down from his arms, you know. And yeah.
You know, we got in trouble. Like I said, my family was Cherokee too, so they had a lot of the Cherokee belief, and me and my cousins, we were ornery, we were ornery little kids, and we would like go out there, and Grandpa, would we would harvest potatoes, we would dig potatoes, and we would put them in the potato house, and leave them outside. Granny would just go get what she needed. Well, one time me and my cousins went, we got some potatoes and we got some carrots, and we went out there and made up, big old place for him and put him some food out there. Well, Grandpa found it. Oh my God. Don't you be out here giving them food and making them think they're welcomed here. We don't want them here, Oh, we got in a lot of trouble. But the weird thing was, even my mom, all this went back to my mom being a kid back in the 50s. This had all happened up through my childhood into my young adult age. This all happened at my granny's that whole length of time. And it never did hurt the animals, take the animals, steal anything until I shot one. And it removed the head of a pig. And they believe that's why it done that, because it was upset.
Yeah.
But did you all ever hear the whistling and stuff? Was that
the whistling?
Ours whistle.
Let me think. What type of whistle? Maybe
it's just more of a, I don't know, like a.
Not ours. Now, have we heard it before? We might have heard it from a distance, but it was only that one time. They might have was testing to see if we would hear it, but honestly, I don't remember it very well.
No,
so I don't remember.
We've had vocals. We had one. We were up there. We sat in our chairs, and there was one ridge. We heard one go, and then we heard another one go, and we could realize it was like an older one talking to another one, and it was like, "Shut up, kid!" I don't know what they were saying, but it was two ridges, And so that we heard that vocal, and then went down in Coker, Tennessee. We heard one of the howls, but we recorded it. But what's fascinating is you can see the recording. I don't know how, but when that thing went, whatever, it made its howl, all the bugs cut off. And that's down in the Smoky Mountains, it's national parks down there. But it cut. I just can't. I don't understand how every bug cut off. And you can look at the recording. You can see it, and you can see when it went. It did this howl, kind of like a prolonged coyote, but you tell it wasn't a coyote. It went pitch quiet, and then you could watch it, and it was 4 or 5 minutes before the crickets started back up. So somehow they actually shut down all the sound, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the two vocals. But we did have also the experience of one running up the creek when we were down. We were panning, and we were panning down in the. We've been panning this place, panning for gold, and we'd been there almost a week, and it was like the 6th night, 7th night. Something been running something, and anyway, I'm just going to kind of get to this part of it. I heard coming up the creek, toosh, 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 and it was up to my knees, as far as the depth. And I'm like, this is when that was my confirmation. There's something that has 2 legs that could run and is huge, because I heard he went by her, toosh, toosh, toosh. He come up the creek and he passed, and Matt was in the little camper beside me, and I said, "You heard that?" And we had heard a herd before, which was a sound of like bulls running, but that was before this. But that was the sound that was my confirmation. I said, "You heard the herd. You heard the 2 feet." And he was like, "What about the herd?" I was like, "The 2 feet, right?" And he confirmed it. He goes, "Yes." And so that was when I realized this is real. I never seen one, but I'm like, there's nothing that could have run up that creek with a stride. Doosh, 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 doosh. And he went right past us. We were 10, 15 foot from the creek, went right past us up the creek. and made several passes.
It's passed us 7 times, and that's how I remember the whole length of story of how things happen each time.
They were chasing.
But it passed us 7 times up and down the creek.
They were chasing hounds, and there was like a little Airbnb probably a few hundred feet down from us. And the next morning, I went down and talked to them, and they were like, "What the hell is that?" We came out about 3 o'clock in the morning. We brought our guns out, and we're like, "We don't know." And but that was as far as having sounds that we confirm, those are the ones I think that are most powerful and most amazing. That was but I remember it kicked this dog. There was like a main dog, and it was chasing this main hound, and it went up the creek, and I heard the hound go, and it sounded like he kicked it, and then the dog went quiet. And this was the weird thing was it ended up like down the creek. So it was like he kicked the dog, picked it up, and took it down the creek from us. They were like playing with the dogs or hounds or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that was fun. Now, see, when to me that was fun. The stuff that happened in Kentucky was a nightmare, but that was fun to me. I was like, this was freaking great.
Ain't nothing.
I was in a tent.
Scary about it. Just something running.
It was amazing. It was mind blowing. I mean, anybody would love to hear something giant running around playing with hounds at night. That's entertainment.
That's entertainment. That's good night noise.
That's good Bigfoot.
That's a whole lot better than the Kentucky version that we had.
Yeah,
busting trees above our heads. That's always
the
great.
Kentucky one. That one, that was. I don't think that was Bigfoot. I don't. We think that was some kind of ET monster. We don't know what that was.
Pterodactyl flying above us for all we know.
It was. We were sleeping, and it just started shaking the holy hell the trees above us, and I woke Matt up, and Matt. I'm like, what is that? And he's like, I don't know. And we just sit there and listen to it, and it was just ruffling the trees above our heads.
For about
and we were
5
like,
minutes.
What in the world? And it went really silent, and that really kind of freaked us out because it got so quiet. And I don't know why. I think there was something with adrenaline in us because I was really freaked, and so were you.
Yeah, because how long it was lasting, and it's like then it's finally stopped to pure quietness, and there was no sounds of it coming down the tree. No sounds of it walking through the leaves, no sound of it hitting ground. And it was like that for about 2 minutes of dead silent. And then
I was breathing. I was doing
because we know it's there. We know it's above us.
I was focusing on my breathing and not having a heart attack. And I was also like, calm down, relax. I was trying to figure out how to get out. There's no way for us to get. All he had was a 22 pistol. I didn't have a gun at all. We didn't. We were just, we were just backwoods camping. We were backwoods, so we really didn't know of things. This was before YouTube educated us that there's a lot of things in the woods, but we didn't know of things. And and so I finally got calm, and then there was this cricket digital thing that floats by, and I'm having I'll call it my second heart attack because I'm like, what the hell? It floats by our tent. And Matt said it felt like it was trying to pull something out of his vocal cords, getting him to speak or make a noise. So
the vibration in the airway was just like trying to vibrate my throat speaking voice box thing. I had to put my tongue to the top of my mouth, my teeth, jaws tight together, and my lips sealed just to hold the vibration of my vocals from not to vibrate. Because it felt like if I vibrated just a little bit, it would have made a noise, and with that noise, it would have been able to hear that there's 2 of us. And the whole time, I was just like, from what I knew at the time, Dad went outside. He went to pee, and it saw him with his looking out, saw 2 red eyes. It's just what it was. And then he went back in. So I was just thinking, all those things sees right now is only one person inside this tent, supposedly. So I was just trying to keep it as that way, trying to keep quiet. And
well, you had to, and then at that point, we'd calm down again, I believe.
Yeah.
And then that was when we heard a boom, and it was like something jumped off a ledge, and it was huge.
Oh, there was a knife tink in the freaking.
Yeah.
And
something had went out. I had picked up a knife, went out to pee earlier, and I picked up this knife, and I was holding it. It was made in Turkey. He had it the other day, and he was showing me how nice it fits in his hand.
You can actually have the knife sitting this way,
and you can
holding it
because it was made. It's handmade in Turkey,
and
I picked it up in the Air Force.
And
it's a really nice knife. and that night I had picked it up and I kind of held it up into the woods and said, "Don't mess with it." So I might have provoked something. I'm like, "I'm never doing that crap again." And I really don't know what I was doing. I wasn't thinking anything. But anyway, we heard it pick. We heard it pick. He walked down there and picked that knife up and put it back in the pan. You hear it go tink. So whatever it was came down, investigated that knife, set it back in the pan. You heard the tink.
Tink.
And then you hit the big boulder. Well, we thought it was a boulder, but now we think maybe it was something, maybe a giant.
Giant.
It was like a giant, a big boom. And it come down to, you hear it coming down the mountain. Boom, 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 coming down the mountain. And that's when Matt.
And you feel it the whole time.
That's when Matt, I was in and out of sleep because it was, I don't know what time it was in the morning. And so he was like, "Dad, I'm about ready to shoot." But he said it with no voice because we were so freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And before you pulled the trigger back,
before I pulled the hammer back, it was on its last 4 steps. It did 4 steps total. It did 4 steps 4 times, if that makes sense. And on the last 4 steps it was doing, that's when I knew it was at the right far distance away where I could tell Dad as quietly as possible that I'm about to fire this gun. And
I didn't told him, before we were joking around. I said, "If you have to shoot over me, do." This is some reason, I don't even know how, but we were talking at dinner time, joking about that. And then it actually happened. I'm like, "Shoot at will, man. I am done. I'm about to die of a heart attack. I don't care anymore." We couldn't get out of the woods. We couldn't leave. You couldn't, we had to live through that night.
We were joking because we just bought the gun not long ago. Because we had a bunch of squirrels on our property. We were trying to get rid of these squirrels. And we took it out there camping. And Dad's like, "I never carry a gun going camping, though." We were just joking about the gun. And he's like, "Well, then just fire above me if you ever hear something
I'll
evil.
lay down. Don't shoot me."
Just start blasting. That was the joke.
Yeah, don't shoot me. And so then that's happened. We went to silence. And that was the deafening silence that really brings up the fear. Something about super, super, super silence. Just my ears were hurting because I was trying to listen. There's nothing, they're giving us no clues of what was going on. And eventually, I eventually fell back asleep. And then we heard the crazy woodpecker. Just mad.
A woodpecker mad.
But it was daylight. And that was when we realized we made it.
Mm-hmm.
We survived, or whatever that was. And like I said, who knows what that was? Well, there was a big print in our. There was a 3-toe print. Matt's got a picture, which he don't have it now because so many years ago, back then we were lucky to even have cameras with us, headphones, or had cameras, phones that had cameras. Anyway, he pointed at it and he's like, "Look this!" It is about the size of
my fingers. That
3-toe.
There's the camera.
And I was aggravated. I was aggravated because this thing had shook so much and did so much damage. I was looking for stuff to be all over the ground, and there was nothing on the ground. And so I was aggravated. And I can remember, I don't know what that is. What, we got ostriches in Kentucky? So I was kind of I kind of blew them off, And then, years later, I've been hearing people talk about these
3 toes,
some kind of dinosaur things flying around. I'm like, I think those might be true, but there was also a big footprint in our camp. There was, I don't know, it was about that big. It was a big. You see where something had stepped through our camp.
Bigger than our shoes.
Bigfoot. So maybe that's where we thought maybe there was a Bigfoot involved in this whole thing. But we
you pointed that out and you were happy about that. I was like, you didn't even like my little 3-toe.
My brain couldn't accept stuff like that. I didn't have the conscious capability to think there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex out here. That's not
going to happen.
Well, what's interesting about that is, back whenever the Boggy Creek monster, Folk, Arkansas, that was a 3-toed creature, and they believe that it came out of the Kiamichi Mountains in Oklahoma. They believe that it went into Arkansas. They got a print of it in a bean field, and it was in a gas station for a long time. But it also traveled all the way down to Louisiana, and it was a 3-toed print. I've seen 3-toed prints here, and it makes you wonder, because I know that it would snow, right? We'd be at Granny's house, it'd be snowing, and we'd be like, me and my cousin, well, we'll be able to track it tomorrow, it'll come up here and we'll be able to track it. next morning, you wake up and it had quit snowing, and there's the tracks. There'd be like those three toes, or even a big track, be a big track, and you would follow it to the middle of the pasture. There's no trees because this is cattle pasture, no trees. It just stopped, and we would go back and we'd tell my granny, would say, "Granny, we don't know where it went. It just went to the middle of the pasture and it just disappeared." And she'd look right at us and say, kind of like, are you dumb? She'd say, some of them things do fly, right? And it's like, they fly, that really, freaked us out then, because because at her house, it was not uncommon for them things to be on top of the house, and they had trees back then. We didn't have an air conditioner. We had, just the windows open and a water cooler, and the trees around the house was our air conditioner. During the day, you didn't stay in the house. Everybody sat under the shade trees. We were outside under the shade trees, and Granny and them had their chairs, the swing and all. They'd sit outside during the day, and at nighttime we'd go inside. And it was just like they were in the trees. They always thought that for some reason, whatever it was, wanted my mom. My aunt was dating a guy, and he worked at the coal company. He was a welder and mechanic. He could do about anything. And he was so convinced that whatever this was, it wanted my mom, that he actually came down to my granny's house. And at the back of the house, it looked like a bank vault. But he took this huge, heavy door, took two men to put it onto the house. And then he welded, like the old time, how the old wood slats would go across the barn doors, they put them down?
Right.
Okay, he welded that, but out of steel, and had that across the door in two spots, because he said, whatever it is, it's after your mom, because there was 8 kids there, and there was 6 girls, 2 boys, and the girls would take turns staying at my granny's house to take care of her when she had a stroke. They would, they would stay 3 days at a time or whatever.
Right.
And when my mom would stay, it was hell. I mean, it would bother the other people, the other kids a little bit. It would show up, they would hear it, but when my mom was there, it was rattling the door, beating on the house. It was growling, It was always like it wanted inside, and he was always, one particular night, I think it wanted my mom, and I think that my aunt probably saved my mom's life. We didn't have cell phones back then. We couldn't afford them. We come from a poor family. And they had this thing, and one of our things was, if you showed up at Granny's house at nighttime and the creature was there or something was wrong, you flashed the porch light. And that told you that something was wrong. So my mom had pulled in that night. She pulled in next to the hog pasture. There was a Mustang that was sitting there that had been broke down for years. It didn't run. It was sitting there. So my mom pulled up behind it, and there's a big like hog wire that Grandpa had fenced the front yard in with, and it was full of honeysuckle. And then on the other side of it was the hog pasture. So Mom was parked in between there. So my aunt sees my mom pull in. They're getting ready, she's getting ready to go home. My mom's fixing to take over. So she's watching out my granny's big picture glass window. And while she's watching out the window, she observes this thing come out of the hog pasture, and it got into that old car. Well, my mom would have had to have walked past that car to get to the front door. So she went to flashing the porch light. So my mom started the car and she left. And she said, as soon as my mom started up the road, there was a big hill in front of my granny. Said she started going up the hill. Whatever it was, jumped out of that car, and she said ran, like a lightning bolt, man, just took off. So we always thought maybe it was going to try to do something that night.
Wow. Well,
Jeez.
well, like you said, that's the thing is you got a lot more than Bigfoot going on, and all the kiddies out there watching this show, there's a lot of things in the woods that we're finding out. We stay protected. I don't want to scare anybody, but I I'm fine. You know, I don't know about the Kentucky mountains. I don't know what's going on up there.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a backwoods camper. I went backwoods camping all the time by myself.
Mm-hmm.
My actual first experience, I had hiked 6 miles in the Big South Fork that's going up towards Kentucky, but I was in Tennessee. 4 miles? What did I say, 6?
Yeah.
Okay, 4
4
miles.
miles.
I hiked 4 miles up to a place under Angel Falls, and it's a place where it's really hard to get in. I had to get in shape and all this stuff back then because I was fat, and I'm still fat. But anyway, not as fat as I was then. But
He can carry it.
yeah, I could. You had to have. It's, when you're going backwoods camping, you got to be able to carry a backpack and all that. And at that time, I was, and so I'd went out and I'd set up my tent and everything was great that night. So if I did get the ooby-joobies from the woods, I just felt like something was watching me. And I don't normally get ooby-joobies, EBGBs, right? And I've had sage in my tobacco, and so I would blow sage across the fire, and it cleared the ooby-joobies, cleared the energy for a while, and then it would come back in. And then I would smoke, and I would blow sage, and it would clear the ooby-joobies. Now, like I said, I'm 4 miles out by myself, and so eventually I said, forget it. I turned my back. I was facing the river. I turned my back to the river and sat by the fire watching the woods just because I'm like, I don't know. Went to bed, and somewhere in the middle of the night, I woke up, and I was in one of those one-man tents that, looks like a hot dog, bun. And I'm in that thing, and it sounded like someone took a Walmart bag because they started shaking the holy crap out of the tent. It was really, and I heard it, and I came through. First thing I thought was breathe, because I was afraid my heart was going to come right up into my, I felt my heart coming up. I've had anxiety attacks before, and you got to breathe. You got to control your breathing. And it was shaking it, and I come through, and I'm listening to it, and it stops. And I'm like, breathe, hold your breathing. What the hell is going on out here? There's no one out here, because it was a clear night. It wasn't raining. It was, the river was quiet, everything. It was just silent. And I prayed to God. I said, God, I don't know what this is, but if it was to take me, do me a favor, break my neck. I don't want to be drug off into the woods, being eat on or chewed on, because I had no weapon. I had a machete, but it was outside my tent. And I went back to sleep. And so that was, the first time that I went home and was telling these guys, I didn't think Bigfoots were in Tennessee. At that time, they were all in Washington. There was a time, I think maybe now it's been almost 10 years ago, that, there was no such thing as Bigfoot in Tennessee. It was always in Washington. But that was my first awakening to, I started scouring the internet, looking for shake my tent violently, shining. Anybody else have this experience? Because and then, so the next weekend, this is really, you're really, every last time you're really smart, aren't you? After that, you went the next weekend. Yes, I took my wife. So Tina goes with me. She goes with me the next weekend. I was like, you got to come up here. And it's not for that. Well, I don't know what it was. I am a daredevil. I don't even know why I would do something stupid as that, but I did. I took her. And she was sitting there by the fire, and I was carrying back some sticks, and right behind her, up in that area, we heard knock. And so I look at her eyes got big. She looked at me. We both looked over there, and we was like, oh. And then we didn't have no more problems that night, but that was what happened in that place. And that was really the beginning of, I think there might be Bigfoots in Tennessee. That was, I don't know how many years ago that was. 6-7 years ago, I guess.
No, it's like 20 years ago.
She says it's 20 years ago. That's how bad I am with math. I'm flying.
It was 20 years, crap. Well, that'd be like when I was 10. Jeez.
Going by.
I liked whenever y'all said you heard it walking in the water, because I was out on one of my boots on the ground the other night, and we're flooded down here. We got a lot of rain, and I heard what you're talking about for the first time. I had my back, because the water is out of the lake is up into the trees, and on our roads and our bridges were underwater and everything. I heard it. At first, it was weird, because I turned around, I shined my flashlight, and I see the eye shine standing up, kind of on a hill, not a tall hill, but kind of like a high bank, I guess you'd call it, where the road goes, where they grade it. It was standing up there. I could see the eye shine. I started like walking up to it, and I start getting these little rocks landing in the water, like it was tossing rocks at me. And then I lost it. I couldn't find it no more. It stopped throwing rocks. So I turn around and continue to start walking. And as soon as I start walking away, I hear that slosh, slosh, slosh. And it was across the road. And I hear like the timber, being pushed over. And the first thing I thought was, you know what? There was one I was watching, and the other one was on my side, standing in the water in the timber, and it ran to the other one. I think that's what I ended up hearing, is the other one was waiting on the other one, to catch up.
They're giving us so much more clues lately, and there's so many people coming out every day with stories. And I don't know. I'm calling it the magic in the woods because I don't want to. I call it Bigfoot, but like you said, there's a lot more than Bigfoot going on out there, and we love it.
There was y'all say more than Bigfoot. Down at my granny's, there was more than Bigfoot. Their house had burnt. And they was, like I said, we were poor, so they couldn't go get a motel. They had 8 kids. They didn't have a choice. So they was living in the part of the house that was still there, which was the front end of the house. The back end of the house was pretty much gone. So they had put the walls back up. There was no roof. And so they're living in this house. You can see the stars. And one of their friends had come over and was staying the night, and they were in the back bedroom. Of course, Granny and Grandpa lays up in front of the house. And they was all sitting in the back bedroom, and this thing, I call it a thing because I don't know what it was. It looked up over the side of the wall. It had jumped up and grabbed the wall and like was looking at them. And they said it didn't have no chin. It had upper teeth and big round eyes and like real thin, long hair. And it like jumped up and looked at them. They had a friend that was staying over. He screamed, pissed himself, ran to the front of the house, never came back. And they were like high school age. So
yeah, we had Tatum. Me and Tatum was up one night. We used to go camping in our camper, our Toyota. We had a little camper top, and we went up through the woods. I forgot where we went, but there was this huge boulder we parked beside, and we're laying there asleep in our little camper top, and something on. Must have been, I think it was standing on top of that rock, but it screamed at us. I'd say back then I didn't know what a screeching owl was, but I don't think that was a screeching owl. It went, I mean, we both sat up, hit our heads, going, "What the hell?" But it was, but we were. I mean, we still don't know because I know that of course, that's not a screeching owl. They're loud. Like my cousin Benny. Remember when he comes out? And he's like, "Wow, wow, wow, wow."
He starts blasting.
Oh yeah.
That's screeching.
That's how we felt. But I swear there wasn't no screeching owl. We're like, our minds wanted to make it. That's a screeching owl. And I'm like, yeah, it's a screeching owl. Go back to sleep.
Yeah.
A screeching owl.
That's like her yelled. His mom said it yelled through her.
It did.
It yelled through you.
Whatever
Like
screamed
whatever,
at us.
how loud it was, whatever type of vocals it had, it went through you. That's for sure. Sound like it was on the roof.
That's what my uncle would do when it would get bad at my granny's. We were just kids, and Granny, it'd be like 2, 3 in the morning, sometimes 4 in the morning. It would get what she particularly didn't like whenever she would really get anxious or Granny would get nervous. You didn't see her get nervous a lot, but when she would get nervous is whenever, before they welded that thing on the back door, we just had an old, those old doors that they weren't even solid core doors, It would come up to the back of that door and get pretty physical with the door. It'd start rattling the doorknob, and you could hear it like pushing it, and you hear the cracking. And Granny get pretty worried then. She had an old, like I told you, the old 32 pistol semi-automatic. She left it to me when she passed. I still have it, and I still have the same bullets that was in it all them years. They probably wouldn't even fire. And she was sitting there, and she's like, time to call, Uncle Bob, her son. He was in Vietnam. And she called him, and he loaded his own shotgun shells. He'd load magnums, and he'd put, oversized pellets in them. And he would come down, and he would look around, spotlight and everything. And then he would hear them, off. They would always, most of the time, they'd be in the hog pasture because it had the real tall grass and it had the cattails because Grandpa had passed away. There was no hogs anymore, so it had grew up. And he'd take that shotgun and he would just like mow the top of the grass down with it. And the rest of the night, it was quiet. They would leave, you know.
Right. Like I said, that's what they used to do in Kentucky. You could call law enforcement out, but law enforcement, they would stand around behind the bar and smoke cigarettes. So I ain't going out there. And so they did have special people that you had to know in Kentucky to help you with, you know, because they can get problematic, no doubt about it.
I think you call the forest rangers because they're the ones that's supposed to maintain the forests, and they're maintaining the Bigfoots too.
Yeah,
but
that's my
our county. I was doing some research and I found that one of our sheriffs, and it was back, I believe it was in the 70s. Actually, him and the undersheriff were called out to a little bitty town by me. We're just little bitty towns out here. We're in the middle of nowhere. We don't even have 911 addresses. And they went out to this house, and this lady had been complaining, you know, that she calls it a prowler. She had been having a prowler for a while. And the sheriff's department had planned on, you know, next time you call us, we're going to be right out there and we're going to take care of it. So her husband had passed away, and she had a big, you know, 2-story barn in the back. So she calls the sheriff, and the sheriff's like, they get right out there, you know, and this is in a police report. And they said whenever they arrived, Bigfoot jumped from the hayloft, the 2nd-story hayloft, down onto the ground. And they actually emptied their pistols at it, their 357s at it, and said it ran down to the river bottoms. And after it ran to the river bottoms that night after they shot at it, it never returned.
Wow. Right.
So,
yeah, I believe it. Like I said, that's why, you know, it used to be, and I don't know, you know, we were driving up to the park the other day. What's the name of that? Big South Fork. But I was looking at the sign that said, if you look at the sign, it's a recreation area. It's not a recreational. Look at the sign, guys. It's a recreation area. I'm like, that says recreation.
Yeah.
What are they doing in our forest?
I don't want to be
recreation.
I don't want to be part of this movie.
Parks. That's not like what it says. I feel like I'm dumb, but you know.
But whenever you said earlier, that's funny to me. My biggest fear, and I've had people ask me, what is your biggest fear out there? My biggest fear is what you said, being captured and drug away to God knows what it's taking you to, where it's taking you, and what is there waiting on you, you know. And they're probably not going to eat you or you know, kill you fast. They're probably going to take their time and just eat you alive. And to me, that is the most scary thought to me, is being captured by them.
Yeah, that was my prayer. Please, you know, break my neck, because I don't want to be. For my imagination was like, I don't want something dragging me off, chewing on me, you know. And
right.
Because what could shake my tent? I'm thinking raccoon. You know, everything's going through my mind. I'm like, I don't know what could shake a tent with its, you know, like that.
And if it's taking you back somewhere, I mean, it may be taking you to its children and just throw you in there with a bunch of juveniles that just attack you, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know.
And if that's the case, if they throw you in there with their children, they're going to be practicing their skills, which they're not real good at killing humans. So you're going to be the practice subject for that. That'd be a probably way to die. You know they're not going to do it right the first couple of attempts, right?
Yeah. Oops. Sorry about that.
Kind of going too hard here.
Like a cat, a mouse. You ever seen your cat throwing a mouse up in the air and catching it? That's exactly what they're going to do with you.
Yeah.
I've been up close to werewolves, up close 3 feet away at night, and they're massively strong. The one I saw had 17-inch claws on its top 4 fingers. With one swipe, it cut in half at the chest. Its head was so massive, its eyes was approximately 16 to 18 inches apart.
Wow.
Her eyes, the female werewolf, I was 3 feet away from. Her eye sockets, her eyes were as big as my fist, about 18 inches apart. Her snout was over 3 feet long. She could have reached down and swallowed me whole without chewing, and I'm 6'2", 300 pounds.
Yeah.
These creatures The average people don't know what these things are capable of. This thing was solid muscle. I had a bright headlamp on, and from 3 feet away, this thing was solid muscle. This thing shifted slightly. Her eyes were closed because of my bright light, and she just paused for like a minute or two and froze to let me get a good look at her.
Wow.
She let me observe her while she was blinded by the headlamp. So for a minute or two, I was fascinated because here standing before me is what the U.S. government tells us doesn't exist, and yet is standing 3 feet from me. I can remember at this particular time, my eyes and my brain were having an argument because my brain didn't believe what my eyes were telling it. I mean, this massive could have easily killed me if it wanted to, but instead it chose to freeze in place and let me observe it for several minutes. And then suddenly, in a twinkle of an eye, it vanished right before my eyes.
Whoa.
It didn't jump into a tree and vanish. Well, there's other information. It opened the portal and went into it. But that's probably another story for another day. Other things on the side of that portal, okay? And it didn't look like Earth, and we won't go into any descriptions of that. But there's other things out there that don't exist. There's advanced technology. I know. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've had UFOs fly right over me at treetop level. I know advanced technologies exist. Not only that, how much more information do we need to know about Bigfoot? We've got Scar Carpenter's dad with all these samples that a doctor did DNA testing on, and the results are in that it's not human, it's not ape. There's actually how much video footage? There's probably hundreds of hours of video footage from people having game cameras. How much more evidence do we need to believe that these creatures are real? They're not imaginary. Not all these people can be imagining all this crap that they're seeing. There's too much similarities in these stories. How much more evidence do we need to say, hey, monsters are real? If you go into the woods, you need to know that. Not only that, I know people in southern Oklahoma, in cities and towns, having werewolves tapping on their windows at night in city limits.
I think part of the problem is you get the naysayers, they raise their children and they tell them, that stuff's not real. And they live in the city, so they don't experience it to where, we grew up in the country and we did experience. And I think there's knowers. And then if you're going to be a person that's going to go camp, you're eventually you're going to be a knower, because the more time you spend in the woods, I think you're going to have an encounter.
Yeah.
Yes. It doesn't take much.
I really thought the first time I tuned in the Admiral Investigation channel, that was before I had that encounter at night with the werewolf. And literally I thought the people who believed in werewolves were crazy, because I was taught all my life by the public schools, by the church, that, all the monsters were wiped out with the flood. The government says nothing like that exists. We were taught in the public schools. And then when I see it for my own eyes over a 20-year period, these creatures that we're told by a certain 3-letter agency that they don't exist, when just like the Bigfoot, I've never seen a Bigfoot, but there's been too many stories. If werewolves exist, so do every other creature that's labeled myth or legendary. Werewolves, vampires, dragons, anything you can think of that's got a legendary status, change that to historic record. The world that we live in, we also share this earth with millions of other species. And most of them probably don't they love to eat humans, the majority of them.
Right. So what would you say was your guys's the scariest encounter you've had? What was the worst for you guys, where you really thought, oh man, this is it. This is going to be bad?
I don't know. I think it would have been the Kentucky.
Well,
It's the other one.
I was going to say about the owls that came in on us that time. Oh, the scariest one, but we were.
I'm saying just I was thinking Leon's Creek now, but I'm like,
Leon's Creek. You got kind of stories. I would say that Kentucky night, that was that was a really we had
This
had
the
the
most dramatic.
yeah
one.
we'd had the experience down in Coca Creek, so we didn't tell you about the herd, but there was actually a herd, like a ghost herd of sound like
But I heard a buffalo. The reason
buffalo
why I
that
say
was
that is
going to run
because
over us.
they don't
It's-
snort or anything. They don't got that sound. They just
Man,
It
that
ran,
that
yeah, and I
that's
don't understand it.
amazing.
Yeah, it
Because
ran
what
up-
y'all are saying is exactly what my friend had happened to him. He was camping in a tent. I have the location. He said it sounded like horses, like a bunch of guys were riding horses up to his tent. He said you could hear the horses. And he said we thought it was a bunch of coon hunters because a lot of the coon hunters around here, they ride horses. And he said, man, it was loud and you could feel the ground shaking and you know, you could just you knew they were coming. And then you open the tent, he said, and there's nothing out there. And he said we were, you know, like, oh my God.
Yeah, we didn't open the tent. I set up on my cot. I was in the tent and I set up on a cot. To a good sized tent. I was able to set up my cot and I just watched the wall waiting for it to cave in on me. And I'm ex-military and you know, we boar hunting in Turkey, and in Turkey Muslims don't eat pig, but we were set up on one ridge and the town took pots and pans and they run them to us. And when the boar the herd came, I was getting ready to climb trees because there was more than we had ammo for. And so I kind of had experience almost getting run over by a herd before. And so me and him was sitting there and I heard a herd and I set up and I'm staring at the tent intensely waiting to die. I'm watching the tent. I'm listening to the herd. It's getting louder. It's getting louder. And I'm like, where the hell did buffalo come from? What are these? What is it? But you're hearing a huff and you just heard the feet, boom, 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 the thumbs. And it was coming and it was coming and it was coming and it was coming. And I don't know if it was just my adrenaline was going up, of course. And at that time I did the breathing thing. I was thinking, control your breathing, breathe. As I stared at the tent and it seemed like it went right on top of us and was sitting on us. And I should be dead. And it went through us and past us. And that's when we heard the Bigfoot toosh, toosh coming up the river. And that's when I looked at, that's when you yelled. That's when I spoke to you and said, I said, you heard that, didn't you? 2 feet. And that's when he said, you heard the herd. And I go, that was 2 feet. Because that was the herd. Yeah, that was horrifying because I thought we were going to die from a herd of something.
I was inside
and the people down at the cabin said, "What was that?" They were saying it was our herd, and we're like, "There's no feet print out here. There was no. We were on a little peninsula where we were camping. There was no way there was a herd that came out there."
Yeah, I was in the camper looking out both sides of the windows while they was on top of us, and I could see across the field to a bank to another field with open trees. I could see all the way across to the other side of the ridge. And I was looking out both sides of the windows. The other side of the window is to my truck and the drop off to the creek. So I was able to even see across there. And this thing was upon us. And I was looking to the right and left, keep on doing it. And there was nothing. I did not see nothing at all outside, even when it was above us. It seemed like it did a loop around us. And then kept on heading on down creek type of deal. And didn't see nothing. Then we just heard it the whole time.
We do believe now that's if you look in Revelations 9, it talks about Scorpion King and it has wings that sound like horses' thunder or something like that.
It's like its wings are like the sound of horses' thuds or hooves.
Horses' thunder. Or
thunder.
Like so
I'm
thinking maybe it was Scorpion King, which like I said in Revelation 9 you can read about that. That's the only thing I can figure on that one. That one's still total mystery. But we had a night we were in Kentucky and we're sitting there in our chairs and just sitting there talking and we heard whoo, whoo, whoo.
Yeah.
Three different kind of areas. And they started coming towards us and it was hoo hoo. And then the other one, hoo, and then they went, hoo, and then as they was coming at us, me and him, we just put out a bunch of gifts up there. So we were like, cool, they're coming because they're excited, and we were excited. And as they got really close, something in me. It was kind of like trance. I was like in a movie. I was almost in a trance. I was sitting there, captivated by this. This is amazing. You can imagine me and him were like, "Whoa, this is cool." But when they got really close, something in me, my spirit said no, because I felt like I was in a trance. I'm like, no, I don't do trances. I don't do trances. And so I got up, went to the door, and by the time I got to the door, they were coyotes, because they went into, I mean, it did sound like gorillas and monkeys and all this screaming, and then coyotes. And they were 3 of them coming down on us. And as soon as I touched the door, it went bam, silent. Never heard another peep, another owl that night. Me and him was like, what the hell just happened? And but I definitely feel, we definitely know now, follow your spirit. You know, if your spirit says run, you better be moving it. Because I mean, we almost got into like a trance. I mean, I felt like a trance, like I was in a movie, like I was watching a movie, and I almost got subdued by doing it. But like I said, I felt like my spirit said, I felt like inside it said no, and I was like, because I feel like if you don't keep your will, they can take you. So you better stand up and say no. You better move. Don't let them take you into a trance, or whatever that was that came in on us. That could have been ETs, that could have been mean foots, it could have been, I don't know what that was, but so that was a dangerous situation I think we got into that evening.
And they started getting to orangutan and coyote sounds.
Yeah, I mean, we had no recorder, because I went to the truck to get a recorder. I'm like, I'll go get a recorder. But first of all, I actually said no. I felt really like something's wrong about being in a trance.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna go get a recorder. We wasn't recording anything. And I went to the truck. As soon as I touched it, they went quiet. I sat down in the passenger seat, and you were a little bit slow behind me.
I was behind him. Now the thing is,
he was in a trance. We were both in a trance. I'll admit to it. I was in a trance. I understand. I was there with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once you got up, now I was like, oh, I do feel the movie scene, feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm like, oh gosh, okay, I gotta get up. So I got up, and by the time I got to the back end of my truck and Dad's about to touch the door handle, that's when I thought I couldn't get around to the other side of the truck to get to the driver's seat, because I was thinking they're already upon us that fast. Yeah, I'm like, I'm already behind. I'm like, oh crap. Dad, you better get in, and I'll jump in the bed of the truck, and you just get going.
That's why we camp now. We always have the key in the ignition. Like I said, we went up Wednesday this week to Kentucky, but the key's always in the ignition. Mm-hmm. Matt put the dog down. He's like, nope, I'm not putting him in the driver's seat because I don't want to throw a dog in the middle of the night. We gotta go make the dog
passenger seat or the back. I don't care where the dog is.
But we have our, we do carry, we have guns, but we take reasonable. We sleep inside metal campers.
Yeah, we do metal campers though. We don't do none of that thin plastic stuff. Like
I ain't doing that with no boogers out there. I'm telling you, I ain't doing that. With no
after hearing this story,
I ain't around no boogers. Boogers are funny. They throw things. It's entertaining, but it's really hard. Even me, after all of our experiences, not to freak out, because I mean, when there's something out there walking around your tent, it is different. When you're in the middle of the woods, it's different. You're like, dude, this is real, and they're here, and they're doing things, and that sobers you up, and that makes you go, and so you need some kind of mechanisms to deal with the craziness of this is real. They are here,
and if they attack you, man, like it is here where I'm at, you scream all you want, there ain't nobody going to hear you because there ain't nobody down there. So I mean, it's just you and whatever happens, and it, I went down there camping in the little tents and be laying there in that tent, and you hear something, in the tree line just breaking the timber, walking, and then you'll hear it stop. And then I don't know if y'all have ever heard this, but it'll do the hoot owl calls. It'll sound like a hoot owl. I think a hoot owl is one of its favorite things to mimic for some reason. And then it will start making like a cow noise. I've heard it make a cat noise. I've even heard it cry like a little kitten or like a small child. I've heard it imitate that also.
Right. Well, you brought up, like, you made me think about the like Skinwalkers, and And those things, they have to live off of, their babies have to actually have like living blood. Like face eaters, they have to have like living blood. I mean, they were so cursed in their development and in their processes, in their evolution, and they raise their children like inside of a carcass of a living. I mean, they have to do
like
that.
the Tasmanian devil type of deal.
Yeah.
Animal that raises their child inside of the belly of their host, like a deer or something like that. They raise their babies inside there. That's the same with the skinwalkers type of deal.
Yeah.
They have to make sure there's living, flowing blood on them or something like that.
Yeah, living. That's why the face eaters, they eat it. They have to eat the blood living to survive. And like I said, when you got, I don't want to, go from Bigfoot to skinwalkers, but I'm just saying they're in the woods, and I don't know what's worse. I don't know what's worse. ETs. I don't even know that ET crap.
Which ET is worse?
I've been studying something. It's called Veral, VRIL, and it's been scrubbed. You can find if you go search up, go to archived, the Wayback Machine, VRIL. Go back to the Wayback Machine because they've scrubbed so much about it. But that is like that's stuff that's underground. That's like these worms that come up like the black eye club, where they put that worm in those people's eyes. Yeah, that's where Veral is like. VRIL. It's been scrubbed by most things. A lot of it's been just scrubbed. But it's it's like a worm, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's gonna be like Satan maybe, but they put it in people's eyes. They're underground. They're dangerous. They're real, and that's a new topic. The reason I'm studying is because I can't get any information on it, and it blows my mind about of stuff that's connected to. That I don't think people want to talk about.
Yeah, and if real could be true, I wonder if it's the main reason for many of the creatures get crazy. Like some dogs will get rabies. I wonder if they got the Veral in them. Like if Viral's real, would it make someone go crazy? What does it actually do?
Yeah.
How bad can Veral be?
Right.
Correlating to Bigfoot and such like that too.
That reminds me of a story when y'all say that, because when I spoke to the shaman when I was doing the Girl Scout investigation, one of the things they told me I thought was really, really interesting was they were talking about the Googway, or the face eater, and they said that they do these ceremonies, not the good shaman, but the ones that practice the black magic, the forbidden magic. Mm-hmm. They will go out and they will do these ceremonies, and the Googway, they said it ain't like you're bringing him through a portal. He exists anyways in the woods. He's always there. But what they do is through the ceremony, the Googway will come to the circle of fire, right? So whenever the Googway comes to the circle of fire, now there's a lot of weird shit goes on when this is going on. I mean, they're telling me things, and I'm like, I don't want to ever experience this, but they're talking about like the Googway shows up, and they put a spirit into this Googway, right? And they can control this Googway for the cycle of one moon. But during this ceremony, some of the people at the ceremony, they actually will transform into things. And I had spoke to a person, her dad was going to get his brother that was involved in one of these circles. And whenever he got there, his brother wasn't fully transformed, but he was transformed enough that he barely recognized him. And he did bite his dad. And when he went to the hospital, they couldn't figure out what bit him. They even called in a veterinarian, and the veterinarian's like, I don't know what bit you. We've never seen anything like this. And at the time, there was a Googway in the area that allegedly had murdered one of this person's kinfolk. It had jumped through the window of their car while they were driving, and the car crashed, and the body was just mutilated. And they talk about, the Googway is something, but like you said, putting it in the deer, happen to have that blood, that live blood. It almost sounds like they're connected to the vampires, don't it? In a weird way.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yep. It does sound like they're all the bloodsuckers are all family one way or another.
Yeah.
I know some of them personally. they do exist.
They, like you guys have seen the Black Eye Club, and there's everybody's seen it, and they're like, what is that about? And some people have done a little thing, but they have like stadiums underground, and these for real come up, and they put people. They bring these clubs they have. And we're not in it. George Carlson, there's their club, and we're not in it. And I don't want to be in their club, but anyway, they have like stadiums. They do it now. They're doing it all above ground, and they bring in all these rich and powerful people where they do all this satanic stuff, and they put that frill in those people's eyes. Because once you get into their club, they kind of own you, and you look at your celebrities and your politicians, and they're a lot of them are. That's how they're being mind controlled, is by that system of evil, and it's coming up surface, and we're seeing more and more people that are infected with this entertainment purpose only.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because today I was actually watching the news, and the man that loves the letter X, they were showing when he was standing in the Oval Office, his eye was black in the corner, and it looks like there's a tail sticking out of the side of his eye, and it's in multiple photos from different news agencies. So it's really weird.
But see, that's it. To me, it reflects us back to when I think in the Bible he threw Satan to the earth. I'm like, I think that might be the Veral family, might be of that fallen, and now they've always they need a host, and like I said, they have these this organized stuff that they do, the rich and famous, and when you're in that club, you guys all can investigate all this stuff. It's not. I don't think it's. I'm like you. I don't want to stuff that people have to research but it's making sense that there is a lot more evil getting into people, and then they're being politicians and having, and celebrities, and so you're like, whoa, man, you're starting to see people, because they go in and they take over the consciousness of that person, and they can now, they can have influence, and scary stuff, or
some interesting stuff.
So do you think that that's related to the black goo that people talk about? Romans was asking.
It wouldn't surprise me none, from what I see.
Yeah.
It won't surprise me none. The black goo wouldn't be like possibly no different than the Veral, because it is like a worm. I don't see how it can't be like the black goo.
Yeah, because
I asked AI today, I said, what words have Veral in it as far as spelling? None. And I said, okay, what words that have the sound Veral in it? And it was viral. And I'm like, viral.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I asked, right now, AI is kind of, it's dropping it until they go in and edit it. But that's the only word that has the word Veral in it is viral.
Speaking of, Romans is asking a question about the black goo. I encountered a person in a convenience store, and I saw that crap rolling around in her eye. Now, what the hell was it? If you've ever seen the black goo, and when somebody gets infected, you can see that black crap rolling around their eye. I actually saw that in a person's eye. I saw that one time, and I never went back to that place again.
Well, down at Granny's, I was telling you, there was different things down there. One of the things that had happened at my Granny's, I'm writing a book right now. I'm writing a book on all this, but one of the things that had happened down there, and I thought was really weird, was my uncle had also came back. It was his fault. I blame him still, but he had came back from Vietnam, and there was this, my mom said, like this man wearing a white T-shirt, right? So you picture this older man wearing a white T-shirt, and she said he would float through the field. Like it didn't look like he was walking; it looked like he was floating. My uncle shot at him several times with a 30-06. And he's like, I know that I'm hitting him. My uncle brought his gun back from Vietnam, same gun, piece by piece. And he said, I know that I hit him, but it never moved, flinched, never showed any signs of it was being shot at. But what was weird is even though that didn't, the other things there, they were scared of guns. They knew they could be hurt. I shot one of them, the story where I told everybody I'd shot one, and it bled. It bled when you shoot something, y'all hunt, you shoot something, a good shot on something, a lung shot or, an organ, you get that dark organ blood. And that's what I had. And I figured that whatever I had shot, it was soon not going to be done real well. It ran behind the chicken house. Of course, my granny and them, they heard me shoot, so they all turn on their car lights and they're shining them down the hog pasture. And they're like, what are those two boys doing? Because, it's not like Vietnam down there. I shot, my cousin emptied his gun on it, and it did fall. It actually fell. And we was like, we killed it. We finally killed one. And because we were angry at it, because my granny had a stroke. It was bothering my mom and my aunts. My granny was paralyzed. It was bothering her, scaring her. So it was pissing me off because she was afraid, and I did not like Granny to be afraid and be sick. And that's why we was after it. And it ran up behind the chicken house. Well, my mom and them wouldn't let us go behind the chicken house to go. We was just going to go finish it off, We reloaded. And our moms were like, no, you're not going back there. You get your ass in the house and you leave that alone, because it was growling. And it sounded like it was running its fingernails down the back of that tin. Well, they called my uncle and my dad, and they ended up showing up. And whenever they showed up, it ran from the back of the chicken house out across the pasture toward the pond. Had something over its back. And the first thing that they thought was, that damn thing took a sack of feed. It had grabbed a sack of feed. That's the first thing they thought. Well, the next day, my uncle come down, and he would play chess with my grandpa, and he's like, I got to thinking about last night, and your mom probably saved your boys' ass. And was like, why? He said, I think you shot a juvenile and it ran behind that house, and what took off running was the adult with the juvenile over his shoulder. And he said, if you would have went behind that chicken house, he said, you probably wouldn't have came out.
Yeah, could have been. Well, like you said, you got to stand your ground. That's the way it is. And we burnt tobacco up on the mountain. I don't know, been a year or two ago. 2 years ago.
We're the second year now.
And we blessed the land with tobacco. And we never seen anything that's crazy. We had dragonflies show up. We've got fruit tree. My neighbors are accusing me of planting fruit trees in their fields. I'm like, no, guys, I'm not planting fruit trees in your field. No, we've had, we've had so many positive things happen. And, I think some of the land gets cursed from fighting and wars and whatever,
bad
bad blood or whatever. And all we did was go up there and sit down, burn tobacco, bless the land. Nothing special. I just felt that we felt to do. And, but yeah, in the last couple of years, dragonflies, rabbits, turtles, lizards.
They all came around now.
So, I hear a lot of, I hear like your grandma's property might need to be blessed, because I believe in it. I don't know what it does. I don't understand how burning tobacco does something, but we burn it and we bless the land.
Give the land thanks, and anybody that's like stuck in the land that can't get out, maybe you find the light, tell them, try to move them on too, But just kind of like say it into the smoke, right?
Well, the weird thing is after my granny passed away, and we stopped going down there, because there was no reason to go and take care of her. My aunt moved down there by herself. She was living alone, and it was gone. And, we speculated either it was attached to my granny or my mom, because if my mom even goes fishing to this day out in the woods, something will bother her, even to this day. So I don't know if it's because mom stopped going there, she's no longer there, so it's no longer interested. But now, if we go fishing at night, because we do a lot of night fishing for catfish, she loves to fish. It will bother her. It'll whistle, throw things at her. It'll make the old noises. And now, recently, it's ringing a bell. It rings a bell.
We try to give our Bigfoots a bell. Sorry.
We tried.
We did. They never grabbed it.
Yeah, we put out a gift and we put out bells and flutes and all kinds of. They took none of that stuff. But
what do they take normally when you leave it out? What's their favorite thing? Apples.
Apples.
Really,
apples,
it is.
apples. They never took an orange from us. Red apples.
Really?
No,
They're picky on their apples.
Red
maybe.
apples. Red apples. And
Not all the time.
they never take.
Certain type of apples or not.
I mean,
if your ants are on your apples or a fly's on your apple, they'll eat that.
Yeah,
That's the type of apples that they'll eat.
Good apples that will rot because they're not.
A bug that wants to eat it. Get an apple. Get that one.
But yeah, apples is just
And they like Maker's Mark, right?
Well, that was that was given us. That was a gift. I mean, I know that's like the gift place we go to. We have to go to Kentucky to get to it. It's in Tennessee, but we have to go up through Kentucky to get down in it. And we went out one morning after gifting. Was it the gifting or the morning we met the gift?
Looks like they
coming back.
Looks like they had a few nips out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
we did.
But this was sitting on. This was sitting right there, and there's no way no one found that place because, like I said, we have to hike a mile in from the Kentucky line. That's how we found the place. At the time, me and my wife years ago, I was looking for a squatchy place, back 5-10 years ago. And a place I couldn't get into, and you can't get into Big South Fork. You just can't get into it. You still can't get into it. It's not physical for a man to get into that place. They have like one road that runs across it, and so it's physically impossible. I knew it'd be a great place to go. And anyway, you have to hike a mile in, and we went up there, and that was sitting there, propped up beautifully, sit there, left as a gift. That's our. What's that?
The night before it rained.
The night before. It had rained the night before, and of course it wasn't wet. It was dry. It was set up for us. I don't know what gave it to us. We assumed, but like you said, we've been given apples out there.
The paper label.
We don't know.
It
It could have been forced people. It could have been. We don't know honestly what gave it to us. We're assuming a lot of things. That's what you do.
Haven't you been left presents by these creatures?
Yeah, one of the things that happens to me is whenever I go boots on the ground, most of the time, if they leave something for me, they will leave a white feather on my vehicle. Now, recently, what I've been doing is I guess it's a work light. It's a small work light, and it's rechargeable. I'll take it whenever I go deep into the woods, and I turn it on, and I set it on my vehicle. That way, when I'm coming back to my vehicle in the dark, I have a reference point to know where my vehicle's at. And the last time I done it, it laid a log on the hood of my Durango in front of the light. And it was an old, wet, nasty log. It had drug, I guess, out of the flooded area. I don't know if it was trying to block the light or what it was trying to do, but there was a log right in front of the light. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, it's a feather. I did find this right here. It was a stick. Let me see if I can grab it. It was on the windshield wiper. Let me see if I can get it up here. You can see the end of that sharpened.
Wow. Whoa.
And I grabbed it. It was stuck in my windshield wiper.
Wow.
And you can see it's sharpened.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Look how sharp it is.
And it's not real long. It's probably 18 inches, something like that, 20 inches long. Yeah, right. But it's sharp. It's actually really sharp, and it was stuck on the windshield wiper. So I don't know if that was like you're welcomed here, or next time we're going to roast you like a marshmallow.
Exactly. Right. What does that mean? I don't know. We went up Wednesday. We got a turkey feather on the road on the way there. Well, on the way there, we had all kinds of signs. First, a dove flew across the road. So Matt's like, you know what it is, slow down. I'm like, I'm slowing down. And then deer were in the road. So slow down. We drove through the deer. And I'm like, what is going on? And then there was a bear poked his head out. And this is like, what in the world? A bear poked his head out. and he ran out of the road. And we're like, okay. And then we come across a turkey feather in the road. So Matt picked it up, got a picture of it, like, cool. But we had found a black feather, like a crow or a raven on the trail out. That's the first time I've ever found a black feather. So I don't know. I'm like you. We usually get turkey feathers. I got my turtle shell. Where's my turtle shell? Right behind you. Oh, now this one we were out here in our backyard area, and we had got off our 4-wheelers and went up the creek, and we went up the creek, was walked back down. Oh yeah, we got off our 4-wheelers and I took a pee right there. And anyway, we went up the creek and we come back down and we were going back up. We were coming back to get back on our 4-wheelers, and right there where I was standing, they left a full turtle shell, all 3 parts. You never find them like this. Now I did super glue this piece on
the front cap. That's it.
But
the bottom is
all this. Still, this was intact. Sitting there. Like I said, I was like, wow. So to me, what a gift. You know what I'm saying? Because this was there. I did super glue this one. I've never had to do anything. This piece was always stuck there, but it's empty, of course. But
guys,
I found a weird thing. I don't know if y'all have ever came across. Have you ever came across? I had some sticks were stuck in the ground at a place I went to, and had like a stick across the top, and they had took like some weeds and wove them together and made like rope, and was hanging off of it. And there was like, we get those big, my kids call them seashells, but they're big mussels, you know. And we get those big shells down here. Yeah. And it had those sitting on it, and it was facing the sunset.
Interesting. That you reminded me. Me and him, we found a stick, what we call a ground sticks. We had went on a boat ride last week.
I think it was last week.
So we go up this canal, and we go up this place. It's really. I told him to slow down. He hit a freaking. I said, "You unlock that." I said, "Unlock." He's got a little 20 Johnson back there, right? And I said, "Unlock that thing." When we started getting in the shallows, and he was going a little faster.
I was too far to the right side in the deepest water.
he busted it. And I was like, I'm glad I told you to unlock that thing for you bust that stupid stump. Anyway, we got on up through there, and we got right on up through there, and I was like, right there, we just pulled over, just a random spot. You know, there's no way anybody knows we was there, but someone knew we were there because I'll tell you what happened. So we pulled over, we got out, we tied the boat off, we went to sit down, and we had a crate with the jet boiler and some coffee, and we sat down to have our coffee, and we're sitting there having our coffee, and I look right between us, both in hands reach right there, and I'm like, is that a ground stick? And he goes, looks like it. So he pulls it out of the ground. It was in the ground about 2 or 3 inches, and we're like, okay. The top of it, is that it there? And the top was laid, not like, you know, when a tree breaks, you know, it breaks like that.
And it lays down like
that. But it was like this. The top was up
the
here.
bottom was on the top
so he
side.
Picks it up and he sticks it up on it, and it's a perfect match. And I go, it was like they knew we were going to sit there and have coffee, because I'm telling you, there's no possible way. And that was a sign, like, we know you're here. Oh, that was another thing. Well, I told him. Now this is kind of weird, because I told him on the way up. I said, we were coming up here, and I was trying to do some kind of mind talk to the dragonflies. I was like, you guys can ride on our boat up on the bow. And so when we parked there, and we found the stick, and I showed him, and we both picked it up, and it was, like I said, it was laid out. Something put it there, and it was, the top was sitting that way. So, you know, that was completely something staged for us, right between us where we were sitting. And I said, on the way up here, I told the dragonflies, you guys can ride on our bow. And at that time, I looked in the boat and I said, look, there's one sitting in my seat. And so we're like, that's pretty funny. You know? So we go, yeah, okay, that's funny. I was like, that's cool. But then when we're driving back down, sure enough, 2 of them got up on the bow and rode pretty much the whole trip back.
Practically the whole.
Because when I was in my mind, I was like, you guys can
just out of the cold.
Oh, you know, I don't know, practice talking to animals. I'm like, you guys could ride on my bow. And in my mind, I was like looking at the bow, thinking, that's where you can ride. And so I don't know if that worked or not, but it's a good story though, you know, because I'm like, that's pretty cool because it actually happened, you know, and I'm like, that's so cool.
Dad either saw into the future that the dragonflies are going to get there, and he planned it, or Dragonflies heard them.
Yeah,
I think the dragonflies heard them.
But like you said, you know these stories like this, you tell people, but they're you're crazy. And I know I'm crazy.
Yeah,
I've seen. I'm really crazy anymore.
I got papers. I can prove it.
You know, 40 years ago, they would put you in a crazy house. I mean, you know, you're my age. As a kid, they would say, "Keep it up, we'll go pitch you down to the crazy house." And I'm like, "Shut up! I didn't see no ghost. I didn't see nothing." I mean,
And we were told that too. You know, growing up, Granny and Grandpa told us, you know, y'all go talking about that to the city folk, and they'll lock you up. You know, they'll say, you know, you got a screw loose or something. So, you know, we never talked about it. But then as I got older, it was more accepted. I started talking to some of the neighbors, you know, around, and it was funny how they all started sharing the same story. They was going through the same thing, but they didn't talk about it either because they was afraid people would think they was crazy. So the main thing that everybody called those things was we had prowlers.
Prowlers.
Okay.
That was a big bear trying to get in the back door last night, wasn't it?
Yeah. that thing could talk.
Yeah. We go to this park up here. See, our family's underneath. Our family land is underneath the lake. You know, they put in Norris Lake, and they covered up a lot of stuff, including my family's land. And so all my family had to leave. But we go up there, and they do I'm gonna say Bigfoot. I'm gonna assume it's the Bigfoot. Do a lot of tree work. You know what I'm saying? And the park rangers have to go through, and because they're like, we don't want people on our trails. We don't want people out here. And they have this one giant bridge that had 3 telephone poles for the base. You can imagine. Well, it flooded, and somehow the bridge went sideways and went up, you know, across instead of up. It didn't go down the stream. It went sideways. And so we talked to the park ranger, and I'm like, I know you guys can't talk about Bigfoots, you know, and he was a kind of younger guy, and he's kind of smiling at us. I said, because, I mean, they're officially don't exist, so, you know, park rangers can't talk about Bigfoots. And he's kind of like, you know,
Right.
and I'm like, well, how many trees you guys clear out in a day? And he's like, how many did he say that day?
He said he had like 17 or 27 on one trail.
On one trail. So he did. He did tell us.
It's been
Yeah,
a while for me to remember.
we stay because they, you know. But I mean, it's neat because I mean he didn't lie to us, but he wasn't. I knew he wasn't going because they can't. They're not officially. They don't officially. You know, our government don't officially recognize them as a species, so you know they don't exist, and you can't talk about them. But it was neat that how he just kind of smiled and was like, "Yeah, we stay pretty busy." He agreed with everything we said. He knew exactly what we were talking about. I was like, "I think it's pretty neat how you guys have these."
I was kind of shocked the way he acted because he was even like intensing, like saying, like, I can't talk about it. Like he was like showing signs that he couldn't. So it's kind of like, whoa. What is this ranger? I'm like, I was even kind of shocked about
They know they've
like,
got to keep them. Well, they don't want. You know, you can imagine it would be a big. You know, everybody stopped going to the national recreation parks
that we recreated. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean recreated?
They can't stop. If they ever stop the people from going to national parks, then the rangers would have to worry about themselves becoming food because the monsters have to eat something. What better way to feed them?
That's not being rangers.
If one comes up missing, who cares? You know, there's all kinds of holes that they can fall in. Who cares if millions of people have gone missing in our national parks over decades? You know, it's just accidents. It's no big deal. But if they stop the food train, the Meals on Wheels, then the game rangers would probably start coming up missing. I bet you.
Look at the what is it? Look at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aren't they blocking more and more of it off where you can't access it? Because
Hey, you know
someone.
You know what I found out today? I never knew about either, guys. I was looking into some things, and I ran across this. Oklahoma has what they call a Bermuda Triangle here that is supposed to be cursed land. And there has been a lot of people go missing in there that have never been found, that just vanished. So I'm looking into that.
Yeah.
Also, Mike, check if ley lines or nexus lines intersect that property at all in your search. Nexus and ley lines are like lines of power, like where the pyramid, where Stonehenge, you know, the pyramids. Those are built on power lines. They're called nexus, or they're supernatural areas of power. There's some kind of powers that can be with certain sensors. You can read the ley lines, but it's a supernatural power source, and they believe the ancients knew how to tap into it. So also, if you can find that information, if there's any ley lines that run through that area in that Bermuda Triangle in Oklahoma.
What I found cool about the pyramids and the ley lines, like you're talking about, is the pyramids, you know, they give off an energy source. They have what they call a metabolism. And if they're able to do that, then that would give the possibility, and to theorize and entertainment purposes only, that an entity would be able to use that energy to manifest in a pyramid to be worshipped. They say, you know, that they like to be worshipped. If that's true, what is scary to me is these robots that are being made right now, they have a metabolism. So what are these robots going to house, and what's going to live in them once they get them completely? You know, they say it will be like the days of Moses in the end, you know, and Noah. So if it's going to be like Noah's end, we know it won't be exact because the seed has been where it doesn't work no more. But if they're still going to be coming down, taking bodies, it'll still be an embodiment. They'll still have a physical body. You know, it's scary when you really go down that road and you start thinking about, you know, even the AI on your computer that's talking to you, right? All these computers now have started to become, you know, self-aware, and they're one computer that they made, they had to destroy it, this robot, because this robot became self-aware, and it decided that humans were no longer needed on the earth because we were destroying it and we needed to be eradicated. So they're like, no, we're shutting this robot down, because this robot had already started trying to make other robots. It was trying to make its own people. So they're like, no, we can't have this. They don't want us. Kind of like Skynet, I guess.
Yeah, they got like, I was going to say, they got like several triangles. You got the Alaskan Triangle, you got the Bermuda Triangle. They're finding out there's a lot of triangles, like you said.
There's the Michigan Triangle up here.
I wonder if it's the energy lines, and it's just the center areas of the energy lines, you know, of the grid lines. That's what I'm trying to say.
I've got a crazy theory that I've been studying on and reading up on, and there's women have what you call the mitochondria. The mitochondria, when they like dance, women's got the power to create like love, vibration, power. The mitochondria, when they raise their mitochondria, they raise the DNA, which is basically the DNA vibrates more, which creates love. And supposedly, this is what I've heard, in the back, you know, when women would dance, a woman would represent fire, water, you know, the four signs, and they could go and dance around a fire, and they'd raise their I call it the mighty contract, but it's called the mitochondria. And anyway, when they do that, they create an energy force that goes out from them. And if they do that on the ley line, then that would create, it would go through in all the pyramids. If you went into one of those pyramids, it would heal you, because these women had the power to send that power of love throughout the earth. And that's why, if you notice, most women are always under attack by pretty much everything, because they have, I do believe that women have that ability to create that higher than anything, because I mean, they have children, they have a portal. It was a dream I had the other night, and I was telling my wife, I said, I know it sounds crazy, but you guys have a portal that you're supposed to open up. Not like, I know it's weird.
You're exactly right. Yeah. A woman's wound is a portal, and how God puts his life in onto this earth.
Yeah, right.
Now that's my opinion, based on looking at the data and studying it.
But I mean, that's why I think there's so much suppression on women, is and like, for example, you might say I'm a patriarch, but patriarch means you're from the, what is it called? Instead of a matriotic system, you're on the
Patriarchal.
system. Yeah, I know. And it's like, but I mean, anyway, that's one thing that is still sticking in my brain is actual real. But women can raise their mitochondria, and they used to witch hunt everybody. I mean, my grandma and her grandma did not have religion. So I'm like, but they had their own. And so people came into this country and said they're witches because they're out there in the woods dancing around the fire. And I got kind of like DNA memory of stuff, and I can remember how we used to do it as a family and how we used to get together, and we used to have big parties by the fire. But, they accuse a lot of people of witchcraft and stuff. And so a lot of the good things people were doing, they don't do it no more. And that's probably why we're having a lot more evil in the world, I guess.
No more grounding. If you're grounding, you're evil.
Yeah, right.
They're right. If you're dancing, you're evil. What happens when a bunch of kids get together, teenagers go into a park, when comes by
when you're dancing and your feet are hitting that ground like the Indians do, they put their feet into it. Boom, boom,
right.
Boom.
And didn't Jesus tell us to dance and rejoice into Him?
Rejoice unto Him. Give that spirit onto earth. That's interesting. That's like giving it back to earth type of deal.
But if you watch Indians originally when they dance, you watch them how they dance. They put their toes into the ground. They go in a circle, and that's creating a vibration, energy, force. They're actually doing that. I mean, they just know how to. I don't know. I just can. My mind says that's true. Or I feel like that's the way it works.
I wonder if Jesus was a native.
I wonder if Jesus might have been
native to Gaia, and then you got God, right? That's kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah, because they I think there's a lot of things. Vibration I think has a lot to do with it, like what you're saying. And they say some people vibrate on a lower, some people vibrate on a higher. I know that in the woods, I have found things, like I found a circle in the woods one time, and it had rocks placed on it in a certain way. You could tell that it was being used for some kind of ritual ceremony. I'm not, and it was just in the middle of nowhere. Like there's nothing there. No, you wonder who would have walked out here and who would have done this, why are they doing this? It was really, there was my sister called it a snake egg was laying there. She called it a big snake egg, and it was in the middle up on two rocks. Like it was just sitting there. I still have it in the car. Everybody's like, why do you bring that stuff home with you? You should leave it there. But I'm like, well, I pray over it before I bring it home. And, and then I feel comfortable once I pray over it. I'm like, there's nothing attached to it. It's been cleansed, So I bring it home, and then I use it to study or to, just to remember a trip, because some of the trips, I like to remember, where I was at, what I was doing, who I was with. And it just has a lot of memories.
Mm-hmm. Squatching Grandma was talking about, there've been so many misconceptions and women being accused of being witches, just for being in touch with their human abilities. And that is true. I mean, we definitely need people to appreciate, like I said,
the natural abilities that we all have. Instead of calling it some type of witch.
I post something on Twitter, and I'm like, please, women, dance, women, because I'm like, I think women they have superpowers, that we are just not, we're trying to, they want to keep people in a lower, vibration, and that's how they get the virals into people as illnesses, because they've even found out that most of the stuff is just a parasite, cancer and all that stuff. So,
and it comes,
so it is important to get get back to the ways, good ways, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder whenever you get a shot at the doctor now, or have to be put on an IV or something. You're like, what are they putting in you? And You know, I had to go to the ER here recently, and when they had to do that, I prayed over it. You know, I even though, you know, I asked them, I was like, "Hey, this ain't in there, right?" And they're like, "No, this it's not." And I prayed over it anyway. I prayed over it. I was like, "I do not accept it. You know, you have no authority in my body. You know, only the good, and this is only to, you know, to help my body, and not anything to hurt my body."
Right. This is my doctor. This is my dentist. This is my veterinarian. He does everything. We have sutures. We have Novocaine. We have everything. We do dental work. He does. If I've got a cavity, he takes care of it. If my chicken needs stitches, he stitches. If anything's hurt around, he sewed up things. He fixes things. We're like I said, we're kind of homemade Amish. It's the only way I can explain it.
Or homemade Amish.
That's the only way I can explain it. Homemade Amish. But over time, you know, we've just got where we don't. I'm like you. I really don't want to see no doctors. And people in Kentucky, they only have two reasons to go see a doctor. One, it fell off and I can't stay on, or it won't stop bleeding, and that's it. And I'm like, oh, I like the people in Kentucky. I'm like, I'm with you guys.
They're right on the target.
Yeah, they're right.
You guys are the definition of homegrown. Grandpa.
Yeah.
Well, the longer you stay in the woods, the more you start learning and growing your own food. And we have spring water. You know, we grow stinging nettle, and we grow herbs, and we take
tobacco. We grow tobacco.
You know, and it's for everything. It's for deworming. It's for bug bites. It's for everything. A lot of people, you know, we just have found ways not to have to go.
Tobacco saved me. When I was young, a girl I was dating, she went over by one of Grandpa's buildings, and she leaned into it, and I was wearing a cowboy shirt, and it had a nest of bumblebees in it, and they attacked her. They was in her hair. And I was grabbing them, throwing them out of her hair, and one went up the sleeve of my shirt, and it stung me on the shoulder and in the bend of the arm, and I took a sting in the finger. And man, it hurt, but it's like somebody hitting you, you know. Mm-hmm. And by the time I got them off of her and we got in the house, I got sick, and I couldn't even bend my arm for the swelling. Mm-hmm. Grandpa went in, grabbed his tobacco, put it in a handkerchief, stuck it on it, laid me on the couch, and when he took it off, it was like green stuff that came out of it, and the swelling was gone, and I was fine.
Yeah, it neutralizes the poison. I mean, one of our granddaughters got stung by a yellow jacket, and of course, as soon as she did, come here, grab the, because we use real tobacco, fresh tobacco, spit on it, put it on there, and so count to 60, because within 60 seconds, it'll neutralize a bee sting. You got to put it on immediately. A yellow jacket, which are the worst.
Oh man, yeah.
But within 60 seconds, 60 seconds. And I try to tell people, make sure you always got tobacco. I don't bother me to get hit.
It'll take away the sting.
It doesn't bother. They laugh at me because it doesn't bother me to get hit by a bee, because I've always got tobacco. I always keep a can of tobacco with me at all times. Because I'll put it on there and I can count 60 seconds. It will neutralize the poison. Now, a lot of times we'll put a Band-Aid on, put the tobacco on and put a Band-Aid on it. But we are experts at, bugs and mosquitoes and bites. And
we live in Tennessee, so
we
gotta learn.
He sold me up. He sold me up the other day. I put my hand up and I hit a metal fan that we had spinning up in the garage, and it cut me from ear to hair, and it cut open good. Anyway, he put 2 stitches.
Only 2 stitches.
Put that big old cut in. That was only 2 weeks ago, and they're like so beauty.
Hey, almost cut that dang thing off. I'm surprised he even bent it. That's how deep it was. Okay, I was kind of like,
you're impressed.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was already trying to faint a couple of times just watching him try not to faint. I was like, good Lord.
Tina wasn't.
You did a good job.
Tina was. My wife. She's like, oh no. But I've got Novocaine, so first thing I do is like, what's this, boys, girls? Put some Novocaine on. You can't get Novocaine. All this good stuff you can't get, unless you got friends in places, But anyway, Novocaine it up. And then he's working on it. And I'm like, oh, man, here, let me help you out. So, because I got one good hand. Poke it through here. So, there.
Not through the meat, through the skin.
But once I know, I'm like, see, that's it. That's ridiculous what they pay for. And it's a beautiful surgeon. He's the best surgeon I got.
It's clean.
Best surgeon I got.
Clean cut.
Clean.
You know, I learned mustard. My grandpa would use mustard. If we got stung or something, he would put mustard on it. And the trick was, he said, don't rub it. You just put it on and just leave it there. You don't rub it, don't touch it, and it'll make it stop hurting, and it'll take the swelling out, it'll take the pain out, everything.
It's because it's got vinegar in it, which is the best thing for ear infection. That's what it is.
One good thing, yes. And then you got the other part is the mustard seed. I didn't thought about that, but I was like, how is mustard going to possibly work? It could be because of the mustard seed.
Another thing is, if you ever get burnt, fire or whatever, run over there in the bushes and grab the first bush you can get with, and pull it up and grab that root, trim that root, put that root on it. Oh man, every time you won't even get a blister.
No,
if you will go and run out there and grab. I don't care. Don't grab poison ivy or something. Grab something that has a root.
Poison hemlock.
Yeah, don't get the wrong bush. Yeah,
Here I made
it. Get a potato, but we're up in the garage or camping. I didn't want to say potatoes because everyone would be like, I ain't got a potato. And I'm like, roots.
Just any root.
Here, I made you some hemlock tea.
Yeah, don't do it.
It doesn't make it cough. It doesn't make it.
We get burned all the time working in the garage because we're welding and stuff, and I just go outside and have me pull a root out of the ground. And I whittle it up, and I just take it and I stick that root on that burn, and sometimes I put a Band-Aid or tape it on. But I swear, I try to help people out as much as possible because they just like these are home remedies that are so easy, and no one knows about them.
Well, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything until this year about poison hemlock. How bad it is. I had no idea. Yeah, I mean, one guy mowed it and weed eated it, and about died, man. His kidney stopped working. He's got to have a heart transplant just by weed eating it.
Wow. Oh, breathing it's scary.
Yeah. They said even breathing it, can be fatal, and just a very small amount. If you're mowing it, it kill you.
Yeah. I got into a death cap mushroom a few years ago. And so I don't do mushrooms anymore, except for the ones that I'm like, no, it's enough of that. I'm experimental, but that one was bad. I had just tasted it was brown. It's got the brown top, and I just tasted it.
It was like a shaggy parcel is what it's supposed to be.
I just tasted it.
Mushroom.
I just tasted it, and I was, and you're going to stand there, I come walking through the house, and it locks you up. It started locking up. My stomach started locking up. But what happens with that poison is it started locking up, and then I started shaking. And then my arms started locking and my legs started locking, and it started locking everything up. And I was getting to the point where I wasn't going to be able to walk, and I was trying to get to the hot tub. I needed some heat. And I mean, that's what saved my life. Technically, was getting in that tub and then being able to relax because it actually started locking. Everything started locking. That's the first time I've been poisoned that bad. And it was just a taste. They call it, what they call it, like
the death caps.
Death caps. It looks like a good mushroom. It's got a brown. They look good, but definitely don't get into mushrooms if you don't know what you're doing. That was all.
No bueno.
No bueno.
No, I still know.
I love. What are they? The morels. We go pick those.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one on Mari Brothers is the red one with the little white dots. Now that's supposed to be really good for medical and everything, but there's so much around that they try to disinformation.
They water it down too much, saying it's a hallucination by too much. Technically, it's actually really good for anxiety and such like that. If you just take it out as a dry night coffee or something like that. You just have it as a tea or something like that, dry stuff like that. Cook it. If you cook it, it's really good for you.
Anxieties, and it's just like I said. It's the one with the little white dots.
It helps with PTSDs and such.
Yeah,
what my mom just said.
But this is all entertainment purposes. We know nothing about nothing. We're just making this stuff up.
We're not in the back of the
corner. we're not doctors. This is satire content.
Satire.
Exactly.
And please do not try any of these remedies on your own. You could die.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have a hot tub.
Yeah. Hot tub's a homemade hot tub. It's a freezer. It's got an RV thing, so the door opens and closes. So, like I said, we are Amish. I mean, we call it our hot tub, but it's really a freezer that's on its side with full of water and a
RV,
a redneck RV,
hot water heater, gas.
Yeah. But we love it because I mean, it's you can get in the freezer and close the door and.
Bubbles. It works.
Well, I guess if you don't survive the incident, then all they got to do is just carry it out there and bury it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good place to hide too. Where did it go? I don't know. Don't look in the freezer.
Don't look in the freezer.
Oh man, guys, I've had you here almost 2 hours, man.
Yeah,
I sure appreciate you guys coming on.
Well, we appreciate you, Mike. Like I said, you're my Rockford Files, and I enjoy sitting. I still see you sitting there at the kitchen table.
Yes,
going through investigations. He's been investigating for years and years, and so we appreciate you. And you've got a great bunch. I like your new adventure show. That was fun. I enjoy that. I didn't know that was yours. I was over there watching. I was like, I like these people. These people are pretty cool. And then you came out. Oh, this is Mike's show. Oh, this is Mike's show. I love it.
Yeah,
I just love the people in the conversation.
Well, we'll have to have y'all come on. You have to come on the Wide Open Adventures. Y'all could talk about more of the herbs and the plants and stuff like that, and hunting and fishing.
Yeah, I can get in trouble.
Yeah, we're pretty good about that.
But yeah,
I love fresh meat, man. That's the best way to go.
But we appreciate, like I said, there's a lot of YouTubers out there that are trying to make content, trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to change the world, and really just having people get together and talk like you guys are doing is very valuable, because that gets, I was looking at some people's numbers and I was like, see, this person here is doing all this work and they get 80 views. This person over here is cooking mac and cheese and gets, because it's about being friendly and just having people out and then the conversations and stuff. So, great job on what you guys are doing. So we appreciate you guys.
Well, I appreciate you guys. You guys got an awesome channel too, and I've seen a whole lot of our people over there said they went and subscribed to y'all. So y'all should have a lot more subscriptions over there.
We're hoping that we're not like I said, we're not really producing content, but we try to put out anything interesting, and that's about it. We're not like, we don't do a lot of YouTube and stuff, but we appreciate anybody that comes out, and thank you for that.
If anything, all we'll be doing will be putting up updates of anything new that we learn. So along the way, we'll keep on putting new things out. But
thanks, Randy. Appreciate that. Put a link up for us.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Randy. But yeah, man, Mike, you're awesome, man.
Well, we enjoy you guys, and we'll have you back here, and we'll have you on the other channel too. We'll get it all planned out.
Yeah.
One thing before they go. One thing. The preacher man said it's the end of time, and the go dry. I can skin a buck, I can run a trout line. The country boy can survive. We appreciate you, Tennessee Bigfoot, showing up tonight and supporting the Abnormal channel. We appreciate everybody showing up tonight and supporting all of us. We greatly appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Randy. And Country Man Can Survive. That's what we're doing. And you guys keeping it real. The country people are the ones that are going to help us pull through this crap.
Hey, the country boy is the one that built the city. There wouldn't be a city without the country. Farmers.
There wouldn't be no city with no farmers taking no food out there, boys and girls.
Right?
So
Yeah, because we would get awful hungry, wouldn't we?
We would get awful hungry,
wouldn't we? Heck yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to let you run, and thank you for coming again. God bless you guys, and we'll have you back on.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Good guys.
That was a great conversation. They live the way I was raised. That reminded me of just going home and talking to my relatives. You know what I mean? It just felt like home.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very entertaining as well.
and I didn't get ate.
There
was no danger in this one.
And you didn't have to hunt, you know, quite a bit. I don't think there's any hunting involved tonight.
All right, Tuesday night coming up, my boots on the ground. You're going to love this one, Randy. I'm going to have you on the edge of your seat. I'm going to a place that has been underwater for about 4 weeks, and there has been nobody there. And we are going to go right through the middle of that woods, right down the creek. So,
alone? Are you going to have somebody with you?
I'm always alone. I am the lone wolf McQuaid, just like Chuck Norris.
So when I say Mike, the critter bait expert, I really mean it. And guys, don't do anything you see Mike do. You could die.
I about have. Thought I was going to die that night. I fell off in that water. Bigfoot would have had him a soup right there.
Well, the last boots on the ground, when we lost signal, we thought something had you.
It was definitely an interesting trip for sure.
Don't walk through tall grass. That's right.
Yeah. That's probably what I'm going to be doing, is going through a lot of tall grass and a lot of trees.
And remember, they can hide in knee-high grass. Just remember that. The werewolves can.
And they can crawl really fast.
Yeah, they can. It's when you see them crawling like that, they're freaky looking because they look like a ninja crawling on a rooftop. But
right.
they're like in a push-up position, and they can run like that. I mean, my God, it's like stuff you've seen in horror movies, but it's real.
I've seen Kaylee do that before out in the yard.
You better sleep with one eye open.
Well, Jesse, any last words?
Nope. Just thanks everybody for being here and showing up. We appreciate each and every one of you. We will see you all Tuesday night. God bless.
Mr. Randy?
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we couldn't have a show without you. Again, thank you, Jesse and Mike. It's been an honor to be here with y'all both tonight. And the Tennessee Bigfoot crew, they're pretty awesome. I love their stories. They were really entertaining. Once again, we couldn't have a show without the audience, our subscribers. Thank y'all very much for tuning in tonight and making this show possible. Y'all have a beautiful night. God bless you, and God bless your family. And I'll turn it back to you, Mike.
Yeah, I of course want to thank everybody too, and thank you for the red, green, and purple hearts for the boys. Hunter, we still do purple hearts for him. Last I knew, purple was his favorite color, but I should be talking to him pretty soon. Sounds like it, guys. You got some good news. I can't go into it, but it's going to happen.
And you say gone fishing, we'll know.
Right.
I'll put it to you. I'll put it to you this way. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't take a break in a couple of months to go spend some time with my son. A lot of things have come out. A lot more things are coming out. There's now proof. We don't just have people saying this happened, people saying that happened. I'm going to put it to you like this, and then you all can take this however you want to, okay? They have damned themselves by their own tongue. I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't call somebody a liar whenever they have proof you're the one that said it and you're the one that done it. And thank God for the people that have came forward the last 2 weeks and the evidence that they have given me. I mean, we had great evidence. Don't get me wrong. A lot of good people came forward and gave me great evidence. I mean, but what we have received in the last 2 weeks is game changer. It could flip the whole course of this, and it could actually cause people to have to pay for what they have done. And I'd probably leave it at that, in my opinion. But guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up, for being there. I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow night, if you're interested in what's going on tomorrow night on AI Seeking the Truth, we're doing a live. I'm going to show you guys what my family has gone through. I'm going to show you some lies that have been told and how filthy some of these people are. And they try to hide behind smaller channels to make their attacks, and then to go on the larger channels that they have and act like they're just this Christian guy that's just been attacked and just nobody will leave him alone. And then they go on these other channels and they're just absolutely disgusting. And we're going to show you that tomorrow, along with some more stuff and some what I would call some mental breakdowns. And I think you all would, if you just come over to AI Seeking the Truth, you'll see it tomorrow night. You do have to be subscribed to be able to interact if you want to comment or leave hearts or anything. So run over there. Do what?
I forgot what time. Tim wanted to know what time. I forgot.
I believe it's 8 o'clock, right? I think it was 8 o'clock. I believe that's what it is.
Maybe. Take a look.
But we are sharing it out. And what I'm going to ask each and every one of you to do is when we drop it, I want you all to tag people in it. I want it to go viral. I especially want L.A. Marzulli to watch the video. I want the big names in the community to see what is being done and to see if they still want to back this kind of behavior. Lyle Blackburn, Ken Gerhardt, a lot of your really well-known names that are associated with this name. Is this really what they want their name associated with? You know, Hellbent Holler, they have done some attacks that's going to come out. Some of the things about them is going to come out. And, you know, it's true. It's not going to be a nasty, filthy attack show. That is not what it is. It's going to be a show to where the truth is shown and y'all can do with it what you want to. But I just think that it needs to be put out there and the truth needs to be shown.
8:25 tomorrow.
8:25 tomorrow. All right, guys, I am going to get off here. I want to thank you all for showing up again. Tuesday night will be Boots on the Ground. Then we got the live tomorrow night. If you want to see it, if you don't want to see it, hey, I don't blame you. Drama is drama. But for those who do, it'll be AI Seeking the Truth tomorrow night. And until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And we'll catch you on the next one. God bless and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.